One. Hey, 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 hey. We are trying to go live. We are trying to go live. And
are we live?
We are live. Okay. What's up, everybody? We're here. We finally get started. We got a packed house tonight. We're gonna have a good conversation. Got a lot of things to talk about. And let's get into it, man. You're watching Young Lion TV. Let's go.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding.
All right, we good now? It's working now? Cool. All right. Man, we are live. What's up, everybody who's watching right now? We got a full house. We got some new people producing again. My little brother is trying to hold down the camera, so he's still learning. And we're gonna get this thing rolling. I want to give a shout out to everybody who's watching right now. I'm seeing a bunch of people in our chat. Juanita, Glenn Fox, what's up, Mr. Fox? Ariana, Natasha, all the way from Australia. My mom is watching. Hey, Natasha, what's up? She says hi to everybody. Anybody in the online chat?
We got Ran. Of course, she's watching because her hubby is
Finally
on.
watching. Yeah.
And we got Jay Copes. What up, Copes?
Copes is watching.
Oh, Lacey Pieces, aka Liz.
Yeah. But yeah. So if you're watching right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the video, please, so we can get some people, some traction, get the algorithm working to our favor. Also, we're going to try to start pushing people over to the YouTube side of things, just because we really want to get the YouTube numbers going. So if you get a chance, you can go over to Young Lion TV on YouTube right now and subscribe, and you'll get notifications when we go live. You'll get notifications when we put up any new content. We're going to be cutting up clips of the podcast and really trying to put a lot more content up. So make sure you guys go do that. Without further ado, let me introduce everybody. I got back for the first time in a couple weeks, my bro, Simone Chang.
Back on camera.
Back on the camera side of things. Yeah.
I'll try not to cry.
And then we got in the right lighting this week.
That's right. Jamie's trying to get this right for me.
I worked on it, brother.
Still looks a little dark.
Nah, he's good. He's good. I think the angle here on the monitor is a little
Jamie
off.
said,
but
Amazon, I need a light to bring out this brother's hue right here. We call this mocha. You know what I mean?
No, I wanted to show, because when I say my half Indian, half black, people got to say,
listen,
where
nobody
is the
believes
Indian?
you anyway.
Yeah.
All right? I'm just a black guy. Don't forget that.
Half Indian, half black, with the Spanish last name, Mr. James Garcia,
That's right.
holding it down. And then, of course, my brother in the striped shirt.
Yo.
Jake Evans. Jake Evans in his phone as usual. And last but not least, our guest this evening is our boy. He's a brand new streamer, just started doing some streams himself. So we wanted to get him on to talk about like what the idea of your channel or your streams are going to be. So we want to have some conversation, because you mentioned that we kind of helped spark the idea for you.
Yes.
And I think it all sparked from that conversation we had at the Super Bowl. That's what I think. I think all of that.
Bring it back. 2 years later.
Yeah, but my man Kyle Tiggett is here, and he's gonna give us some insight into all of the things that we talk about, all the crazy stuff that we talk about, and then holding it down on the production side. I already mentioned my brother John's on cameras right now, and so if you don't see the cameras switching back and forth, you can make fun of him as much as you want, because he's still learning. Look, his face right now.
He's gonna get mad. He's gonna get mad.
And then holding it down on the audio and the research is our other Kyle Mack.
There's too many cows in here.
Yeah, too many Kyles.
Yes. I welcome you, Kyle. Other Kyle.
Kyle got in trouble last week because his mom watched the podcast and Anyone who watches, every time Kyle's on, he never has any idea of what we're talking about.
Right.
He doesn't know any of the news stories. He doesn't know anything that's going on in the world.
I don't believe it. I think Kyle knows. Kyle just tried to play that safe road. He's
Yeah.
like, which lane should I go? He's like, I'm going to walk right in this paper. Right. And I
You
said,
know what? The safe road is pretty much a safe road. Wait, wow, that was redundant. The safe road is sometimes the best bet for me when I'm on here.
Right.
Because there's some things like you were talking. For me to agree with you, I would have felt very uncomfortable on some things.
So what exactly did Mama Mac said to you?
She
Say
said
to
that
you.
she said that she watched the first 45 minutes before she had to go do something else. But she said after watching, you really need to watch the news. Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, the stuff that we talk about is always in the news. This isn't like fringe stuff that we're just finding on the dark web somewhere. But the problem with Kyle is if it's not on Instagram with a big butt attached to it, he has no
that
idea.
needs to be the truth right there. The big butts will get
Don't act like you know my life, Jamie. Come on.
you. The butts will get you.
I mean, it's not altogether inaccurate, but don't act like you know.
I'm pretty sure if
I
it
think
is,
we're
though.
wearing off on him a little bit.
Yeah, we
Oh,
are.
wearing
We
on
sent him that Out of the Shadows
He watched
documentary.
it.
I
Oh.
Watched it.
I watched Out of the Shadows while setting up some equipment, and there was a lot of times
What? Speak on it.
I could not. I had put it up as background noise just so I could say that I watched it. But there were a lot of moments where I just had to stop and look and like, wow, this is really effed up. And, I was always a skeptic about what you guys were talking about. I was like, no, there's
Yeah.
no way there's like this cult-like society or whatever kind of doing these really evil, awful things more under the radar.
Yeah.
But it makes it seem a little bit more feasible than I ever really had imagined before.
I mean, well, think about today now. So you talk about, because Kyle would always like give me calls after the podcast, or like he would say little stuff like, maybe you guys should just talk about like some fun stuff this week. And I'm like,
I never said maybe you should just talk about it.
didn't you say one time to me like, do you guys ever think about doing a week where you just don't talk about serious stuff?
Time out,
Like you
time
never
out. Just today when we were like, oh, let's talk about Kanye. And then he gets all mad. Like, oh, you guys are talking about pop culture when I'm not.
I felt bad because I was like, the one week that James isn't here and I'm, sitting in the seat with you guys, you talk about something that was much more relatable. And I think something that a conversation that James could have a lot more easier than I could. I mean, obviously it was hard for me to carry a conversation. There was a lot of moments of me just staring at my phone, reading comments, and I had nothing really, I feel like, to contribute besides just an air of ignorance and not really, just a lot of questions.
even-
I felt out of the loop.
I think even if you're just honest with that, like,
Yeah,
that's
you know.
contributing.
That's fine.
Because I
Yeah.
think that's
I think
cool.
you did
like,
fine. I think
yeah,
your
me
mom
too.
was just
Yeah,
embarrassed
yeah.
for you. That's all it was. But it's all right because we brought in another Kyle that's going to have a perspective.
This is conspiracy Kyle right
This
here.
conspiracy Kyle. He's going to come in and he's going to just fill those.
I want to
dark
say
web.
happy birthday to Ariana.
Happy birthday to
Oh,
Ariana.
happy
Ariana
birthday.
is
Happy
a
birthday.
faithful watcher of the podcast.
Yeah.
She literally tunes in every single week, and her mom and her.
And she's been supporting us forever.
Yeah.
We've known her. We sold her a CD in what's that mall in Vineland?
Hamilton Mall.
Hamilton Mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, sold her a CD in Hamilton Mall, and I remember that.
Not in Vineland.
Yeah, you're right. It's not in Vineland. I thought it was the other. I thought it was Cumberland Mall,
Okay.
but it was Hamilton. You're right. I remember that day though because I remember I went up to this girl. She was like a Hispanic looking girl, and I think you might have been with me. And
I don't remember.
And I stopped her, gave her CD, let her listen to the music, and she liked it, but she didn't buy it, so she started walking away. Next thing I know, some dude runs up to me and pushes me in my back. And I turned around about to rip this dude's head off, and it was a little short Mexican guy. I guess that was his girlfriend.
He probably wasn't even Mexican.
He was. Come on, man. I know my Latinos. He was Mexican.
From Violent
He was, huh?
No, just,
There's a lot of Mexicans in Violent.
Oh, no.
A lot of
There
Puerto
is.
Ricans, too.
Puerto
though.
Ricans.
I know. I'm just making a
You trying to make, listen.
stereotyping people from Violent.
I don't have a problem with
Mexican.
stereotypes.
That's
Stereotypes
racist.
are real, my brother. Let's keep it real. Like, there's about 14 Puerto Rican restaurants in Vineland for a reason. Okay.
And 0 in Camden.
They're all Dominican.
Apparently, there's no Wawas in Camden either.
No Wawa.
No Wawa.
in Camden.
So wait, you shifted from the short midget hit you in the back. Come on, man, finish that story.
No,
you
so
don't say stuff like that. And
So
go,
he runs up and he pushes me in my back, and I turn around. I guess he thought I was trying to talk to his girl or something.
Right.
And then I like showed him like, dude, I'm just selling her a CD.
Right, sure,
Like-
that's what they call it, Blackie.
But he calmed down and he walked away. But it was just funny because I always remember that because I was like ready to get into a fight with this guy, and I turned around, I was like, oh. Can't beat up this guy.
But you wanted to.
I would have remembered that. I think I remember you telling me that happened to you.
Okay.
I must have been somewhere.
I think
else
you
in the
weren't.
I was
with me.
there, but I was in another spot.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember you.
because you know
telling
I
me.
probably would have been
Yeah, Moan would have got a little aggressive.
Right.
But that was the old.
the old me.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to clarify that.
Yeah. This-
Kimberly says, "Thanks for the live fan. Thanks for the live fan since a love show in Philly last summer. Love show in Philly.
Love show.
I don't know.
What love show?
Well, thank you.
Kimberly.
Thank you. Barbara says, "Oh, thank you guys. Love you all." And Natasha is shouting everybody out too. Natasha's another longtime fan from
Yeah.
Australia.
Is anybody monitoring the YouTube chats?
No, are you?
I'm looking at it. I don't know who Rough Sex is, but he says, yo.
That might be one of Kyle's fans. He's tuning in.
Now you're gonna make me switch over.
He's tuning in. Nah, I know who that is. That's Brandon. That's Brandon. Brandon.
Why is his name? All right,
We're gonna talk about that
We're
later.
not going to talk about that.
Exactly.
We're not going to talk about
Yeah,
that.
we don't need to know why his name is Russ.
All right.
But anyway, what I was gonna transition into was because Kyle is always kind of hitting me with those hints. So I started like showing him how a lot of people are talking about this. It just might not be on your radar, but a lot of people are talking about this stuff. And then the more we talk about it, the more it's coming up in the news, kind of validating the things that we're saying. And then just last night, not last night, yesterday, one of the judges that was assigned to oversee the Jeffrey Epstein case involving Deutsche Bank and like where his finances are coming from, like how he makes his money. The judge that was presiding over that, one of Moan's co-workers comes dressed that, and then assassinates her
FedEx driver.
her son.
Yeah, because they don't understand.
Yeah. He comes to her house dressed as a FedEx driver, and I think the dude was like a lawyer who worked with her in the past. If I remember reading the story correctly. I don't know. Kyle could probably pull up the
Wait,
article.
the
on
guy who shot her?
Yeah, like he's someone who is actually connected to Epstein or her in a certain way. And I think when I was reading the article, something about how he had a past with a situation in the Dominican Republic with underage girls. But anyway, so this guy shows up at her house dressed as a FedEx driver. As soon as her husband and son come to the door, he shoots the son in the chest, kills him, and puts the husband in the what's that, Rach? And
Rachel Rota.
puts the husband in the hospital, critical condition.
Son dead.
Dude gets away, and then they find him, off himself. Like, doesn't that sound a little fishy?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? After knowing what we know about Epstein and him killing himself, and then now Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, this judge gets appointed to oversee where the money's coming from, because the story about her is people don't, she won't give them information on where her money was made. You know what I mean? She has multiple bank accounts. Some
You
of
talking
them
about Ghislaine?
Yeah, Ghislaine's.
Yeah,
Go
I just saw something about how many accounts she has.
Yeah.
Ranging from 500,000 all the way to like 50 million.
Right. A lot
Crazy.
of them are offshore accounts. A lot of them are in
Switzerland.
Yeah. And okay, so here goes the article right here. I don't know. You see if you can find any information based kind of expanding on what I was saying. I don't remember, but
I don't remember what you were saying.
okay.
I was trying to find an article based on this thing.
Never mind. But anyway, so part of the investigation into her is that she she won't disclose where she made her money
Of
or
course
where her
not.
money,
Of course,
where
yeah,
that money
yeah.
comes from, and
The properties she owns are not really in her name.
yeah, they're in the name of
Yeah.
corporations
Right,
and stuff like that. So everything is real shady. And then the judge, 4 days after she takes this case, like I don't know if does she take the case or is the case given to her? I don't know how that works. Anybody know how that works?
I don't know.
think you're assigned
Can we
to
look
Yeah,
it up?
I think you're assigned to it.
Okay. So 4 days after she's assigned to it, someone shows up at her house, and apparently, like, he hadn't interacted with her in like 5 years or so. So he just decided 4 days.
But how
after-
do we even
But-
know that he was the one that actually did it?
We don't.
Yeah, because
You know
They're
what I
saying
Yeah.
he did it.
Right.
because they could have dressed him up as, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you never know what
They could have dressed
craziness.
somebody up that
He
looks
coulda-
like him.
somebody
and-
could have came to.
Right. Well, what we do know is obviously whatever is happening, people don't want the truth, the actual truth, to get out.
Yeah,
And this goes so high.
That's what we do know.
Right.
I want to know if they drove a FedEx truck. Was it like the whole like the whole thing, like he stole the truck or whatever like that?
Could be.
I
You
don't
can get,
know,
You
man.
can get FedEx stickers on like Amazon.
Yeah.
Can
Really,
you?
and
Right.
just put it right
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the side of a plain white
Right.
truck.
That's
Right.
true.
And why didn't he finish the job though? Like, if he shot the husband and then killed the son, right? The son's dead.
Maybe
Yeah.
to send a message, you know what I mean?
Could be.
Tony Montana style.
That's what I'm saying. Like the son's dead. Oh, you want to talk? You want to talk? now?
Talk.
Say if he didn't use like if it was loud gunshots, he's gonna try to get out of there because other people are gonna hear him.
Right.
So
But then he killed himself anyway.
yeah,
So that's it. Like a lot of the pieces of the puzzle don't really
Yeah.
fit together. the
it's
way-
a weird situation. I mean, that's bottom line. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird.
But somebody's trying to suppress or trying to at least hinder the real truth from coming out.
It's either very convenient, or I wouldn't say convenient, but very coincidental. You know what I mean? Or something's going on.
I'm going with playing setup.
Yeah.
I think everybody
There's not that
goes-
much
not a-
coincidence in
Yeah,
the world.
it
Yeah.
can't. I think
Exactly.
mathematically it's
No,
impossible to have that
exactly.
many coincidences.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think people are what it is doing is it's exposing the fact that they cover shit up, and
Right,
like
right.
there is a lot of things that happen that we think are just conspiracy theories. That it's like, wait, there's more to this
Right.
than you actually know.
Yeah.
Right.
Anybody ever watched the show Billions on Showtime?
No.
No.
It's the battle between people with money and the power they wield, and the people in politics and the power they wield, and how they just try and combat each other with their influence, with how much money they have, and with their influence, how much political power they have. And it just sounds like this is one of those situations.
So it's like the
where-
banks versus the politics.
Exactly. So if you have
politicians.
if you have a political power or a financial power, you can make these things happen.
Right.
You can make things go away, and you can make people disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
Billionaires, they want to compromise those in the position to pass laws and bills to benefit them, because then you're beholden to them.
Yep.
And if they can get you compromised financially or through a scandal, then they can control your policies
course.
that you put in place.
They have power, right?
So now everything just benefits them, and that's what Epstein had was that's what they're alleging that he was in charge of, was like compromising politicians and billionaires and people
Right.
in power so that they could have video footage of them having sex with underage girls, and now we can control you. You know?
Right.
Right. Right.
Which I think it even goes deeper than that. I know y'all, are on the same page with that. A lot of people don't want to take it further than that, but the more and more that this starts to unfold, it starts to seem like this is way deeper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because there's no coincidence that he kills himself in prison,
Oh, coincidence.
and now the judge.
I mean, he
who's-
tried to commit suicide one time, and then
Well, they put him
but he
in,
was left alone.
and
long
he was
enough.
left
camera
alone.
footage.
Cameras don't work.
First they-
the guards aren't watching
No,
him.
first they
Exactly.
put him in a cell with a character from like Guardians of the Galaxy. Did you see the dude that they put
former
him
fighter.
in the cell
Yeah,
with?
former MMA fighter.
He was like a police officer that went rogue and became a gangster, killed all these people, and he was like this jacked up, juiced up guy.
Yes.
Next thing,
Make sure he don't die, all right?
right.
All right.
Next thing you know, he's got all these bruises and,
Right,
and
right.
he's all beat up.
Right.
Then they put him in a cell by himself,
Right.
claiming that it was suicide watch.
Right.
And then
And people have also broke down the footage to say that might not even be him.
Right.
What we're looking
Yeah.
at.
Right.
I mean, if these people have the power to do that, they can also, fake a death
You
too.
mean his body?
Yeah.
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 We talked about
who,
that.
Who brings the body out?
That's
Yeah.
the other thing.
Open to the world.
Just think
to see.
about the
Yeah.
logic of that.
Yes.
And
Right.
people just glance
fall for
past
it.
it
Yeah,
because
right,
it's like they need affirmation. So,
Right,
but it's
right.
like, when have
And he
you
is,
ever seen a body brought out in public without a body bag or like not being
Very
covered?
true.
Just
Very
like
true.
open to the
Yes.
public. Like take
Yes.
all the pictures you want.
Right,
Here's your
exactly,
evidence,
right.
guys.
Yeah.
Should we take him through the back through the fate, Captain? No,
Maybe.
bring him out front. We
To
need
me,
everybody to
it
see
sounds
this.
like they were back there like, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
We got,
Yeah. I think he
look at his likeness.
looks
Right.
just like him.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought it's so high profile that it's
Right.
out in the media,
Right.
and
Right.
let's
And
give
I
them
think-
proof that he's really dead.
Right.
But
And
why
I
would
think you're
they
right,
do
though.
that?
I know.
If there was no agenda behind it, why would they do that?
Right.
Right.
You know
Because I think they have an understanding of how the public is going to react. Most people aren't really going to go people are just very surface.
Right.
So they see it, they're like, well, I mean, I saw him dead. I mean,
Right.
what do you want?
What
more
Anyway,
do you-
what's happening in baseball again?
Right.
That's what people will do. So
Wait,
they know
there's no
that.
baseball, coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
No, he died before
Might
that.
be out. No
He died
football.
before
This was before coronavirus.
No, I'm just saying.
No, I'm just saying they know that. They know
Kyle,
that
see
people
if you can
aren't
pull
gonna,
up. See if you can pull up photos of them wheeling Epstein's body out of jail. While we're talking about this, just
Right.
so people can get an idea of what
Right.
we're talking about. But yeah, like you're right. People will latch on to the smallest thing that can settle it for them. That's what I think.
I mean, you don't want to go. Most people don't. I mean, listen, this thing is pedophilia. It's trafficking. It's a lot of things. So it's really heavy for most people.
Right.
So if I can just get like surface validation, I'm good. All right.
Right,
And
right.
on to the next thing.
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
It allows me to tie it all up and
Yeah,
not
it's done.
have to go any deeper
Right.
into all
Right.
of that stuff.
Because then it'll force you down this rabbit hole that you don't want to go down, and then you have to kind of come to the conclusion. Well, what else are they hiding?
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Where do we go?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. Our monitor's so small today. I can't see.
Because we live
What's going
in
on?
a fucked up world.
Yeah. So I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that?
I can see it.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah. Nonsense.
All right.
I can't see nothing.
oh, we're swapping out. Okay, Rachel's gonna jump on the research side. Kyle's happy about that because he said every time he gets anxiety every time he.
It is nerve wracking because I did it. Was it 2 weeks ago or last week?
Last week.
Last week.
Yeah, last week. Mom was like,
This is. Yeah. Did I pull up the right article?
So let's welcome everybody to the production direction tip. Miss Rachel Rhoda just stepped in, and now she's going to be handling.
She's like, it's right here.
But anyway, all right, let's move on to Kyle now. Kyle is our guest this evening. So not you,
The other Kyle.
the other Kyle. A lot more melanin. According to some, that means he's compassionate.
You're a savage.
Very compassionate guy, and you are.
That's why you're so
You
quick
are
to get up.
not as passionate.
That's why you don't watch the news.
Nobody
No
gets these
compassion.
jokes we're saying.
Do you even get the joke forward? No, exactly. Wow. Exactly.
See, that shows how incompassionate.
So Kyle, man, let's talk to us about what made you want to start doing videos and start getting into like what are you going to start podcasting or are you just going to just start live streaming on Facebook?
Well, I just started the live stream just because I had to start somewhere. I kept making excuses as to why I wouldn't start, which platform to go on. I don't have all this fancy equipment.
Right,
I don't-
right.
The production value is going to be awful. Sorry. Thanks, Kyle. But 4 years ago, when the presidency changed, it was just a lot of words flying around back and forth. And,
Right.
A
A lot of divisiveness.
lot of divisiveness, a lot of people on your friends list and you consider friends opposing views and people unfriending people and unfollowing and it just stuff flying everywhere, right?
I try to stay off of there, man, as much as possible.
So I made a choice back then that I was gonna put up a love post every day, and so for about 6 months I just hashtag love every single day, and my oldest son at the time, he was 16, 17. and he's asking me, why is there so much hate in the world? And I couldn't answer. And he's like, well, what can we do? There's a 17-year-old asking me this stuff, and I don't have an answer. So at that point, I was like, well, somebody has to do something. Someone has to start conversations, stop this breakdown of communication, dialogue, and stuff like that. So I had knee surgery, and so I decided I was going to take that 12 weeks that I was off, buy a computer, learn how to edit videos and all this stuff, and kept making excuses and just never did it. So a coworker of mine, like I said, probably about 2 months ago, he texted me on the side. He's like, whatever happened to that Why Not Media thing you were talking about at work? And I was like, well, I just been busy. And he's like, but you were so passionate about it 4 years ago. Like what happened? And I was like, you're right. I really don't have any excuse. So one day I had a couple beers and said, today's the day. And I just got on and I spoke from the heart. So the plan still is to have a wide outlet where it's not just going to be one topic. It would be a variety of shows. So, one idea is a show called We the People, where it's just all inclusive. If you got an idea, you want to share something, bring it to the table. We'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We'll have a discussion. Another idea I had for a show would be called From the Heart, where it's just me, almost like I don't know the correct term for it, but just me speaking.
Right.
And that would be like 5-6 minutes, and it's just my opinion. So
It's like a monologue on something.
pretty much,
Right.
right? That's the word I was kind of looking for. So pretty much just like a monologue on a topic or something to that effect. And then as it grows from there, just try and bring more positivity, just through different channels, different avenues, different dialogue. So whether it be kind of what you guys are doing here, just bringing up research and saying, hey, here's the good things that people are doing, not just black people, not just Asian people, not just white people, just people in general.
Right.
This is what, because the news always wants to, look what happened here, look at this bad
That's
thing
the
that happens.
negativity. That's
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
clickbait.
Right. And so there's so much of that, why can't someone do something total opposite of that?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
finding positive stories and good things that people are doing that never get the light of day. And
Right.
so, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's the whole, purpose of it, just to try and, unite humanity,
Right.
first, and then, go off into those subsectors of, let's help this group of people, let's help this group of people, but we all got to help each other first.
Right. How
Yeah.
has the reaction been, from you were saying you saw a lot of what's that look?
Well,
How has that reaction been from people on Facebook? Because I know it can get real dicey.
See, I thought it was all positive, and then so I'm going through my friends list, and I'm like, when people on your friends list, they're like blue or whatever.
Yeah, I guess.
So
I don't know.
me either, but I'm going through it, and I'm like, well, I thought I was friends with that person, and so like a bunch of people have unfriended me. I didn't think I said anything offensive on either one of my videos, but apparently I've offended some people, and they've unfriended me.
I think you can't avoid that though. Anytime you're
Yeah.
gonna be honest and just speak what you feel is the truth. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Someone is gonna not agree with you, and then in their mind, and we've reached this point where now, and this is another reason why we started doing this, is because we feel like too many people think it's okay not to be able to have a conversation even with people you don't agree with,
Correct.
people
There's
that
a-
you may not see eye to eye
Yeah,
with.
there's
Correct.
a difference between being offended and not agreeing with somebody.
Right, right.
And
So-
at one time, we all felt that way too.
Yeah, yeah.
We've grown immensely, and it's because of listening to people that you disagree with, that you don't share certain things with, that you may learn something, and it might change your attitude about certain things.
Yeah, we've all like changed our perspectives on many topics, many things, like certain things that you feel like you were, so adamant about. If you're just open to hearing
Right.
all the
Other
perspectives
ideas,
that are
Exactly.
available,
Right.
you can easily evolve. You know what I mean?
I think it's more about not really hearing people's ideas, but more about hearing their hearts.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the way people feel about they got there somehow. How did they get to the place that they feel the way that they feel? You know, and just being able to hear that, and then you can work through it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
That's love, though. Compassion, right?
right.
Right.
You got to be willing. That's what you can. If you get offended, then that means you got a wall up,
Yeah.
and you're never gonna let somebody in. You know, because you feel like you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
So a lot of hurt people. So a lot
Hurt
of hurt people
people,
hurt people.
yeah,
So a
yeah.
lot of people who even feel like, oh, it's coming. That wall comes up, and they shooting arrows from that wall.
I don't
you
want
know?
to hear what you have to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're not going to understand everything, but you can have empathy. You can slow down and have understanding. You may not understand it the way you're telling. I may not understand the way you tell me, but at least I can have some empathy in listening to, like Jake said, your heart.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be able to research and find out. Like, you know, people don't. I don't know what it is to be Asian. You
Right.
know, I don't know what it was to be like in a concentration camp or anything like that. But you know, you can do your research and find out and listen to people and stories and things like that who have and actually have that true empathy for them instead of just showing that false sympathy.
That just reminds me of what's going on right now. And
False
Just about
sympathy.
to say.
I like that. Sorry.
false sympathy.
Because that's the problem. Like,
That's a black square on Instagram.
yeah,
To me.
like
Yeah.
You know
that's
what I'm saying?
virtue.
Yeah.
Like, that's religion. That's
Right.
like what religion is in any sense of the word,
Right.
because it's about, like, it's funny. I was today. True religion is about loving or charity towards widows and fatherless kids, right? Basically, orphans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that hit me because it's about love, right? And why? Because a wife doesn't have a husband and kids don't have a father, and that's the man that's missing in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people get weary with that, even if you say man, but the man is the head of the house, or even just it's the thing that holds up. It's the strength of the house.
Right.
You know, I mean, in terms of the Bible, that's how we see it. And when that's missing, then you have that gap that's missing, and you have a house that falls apart. And so that even like religion, that's the only religion. It's about love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about love extend, because a lot of times those people who grow up without a man in the house, grow up without a husband, or grow up without a father, they're acting out.
Yeah.
You know, and then
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Right.
Not to take away from a strong woman.
not to take away
Yeah.
from a strong woman, but a strong woman becomes a strong woman because she has to.
Yeah.
You know, and not to take away from people who are single, women trying to do it. That's different. But people need help.
Right.
Everybody needs help. You can't live on that saying that I'm strong. We all need help.
Yeah.
You know, and because even that thing, like, you know, the thing we were talking about with, like, Happy Father's Day to the mothers.
Yeah,
like,
right,
because they're strong mothers. No, that's you want to show honor, but you're actually dishonoring, and they're not going to get the thing that they need, because then a false pride comes up, and that becomes the division. And if you don't honor that in the right way that people perceive you should honor it, now you got people fighting against each other, you know, and causes all these issues. And that's what religion does. Religion just causes all these issues because it's about, no, you got to do this, this, and this, but there's no love there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So then it just breaks down everything. There's
Right.
no love.
Yeah.
But the concept of religion even has been, the idea of religion has been kind of hijacked, you know, because to do something out of religion is just to practice it regularly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, like, that idea of compassion and love needs to be a regular habit for you.
Right.
You know, that's the true religion.
And how are you going to, even in that, like, if I hear, like, oh, well, I have to love this person, right? If I try to love them out of myself, my own perspective, they're gonna do something wrong to me.
Then you buying
They're
Burger
gonna-
King for 2 black guys.
Right. and then they trying
You
to
ever see that video?
No.
You never seen that.
and
You
then
know what
they
we're
trying to
talking about?
find you the next week. Yo, who's that? Who's that white dude that bought us those
It
Burger King?
was
There's a-
during the whole protest, like when it first jumped off. There was a video we played. There was this dude on Twitter going viral where he was like, he puts on his phone, and there's 2 black dudes in the car with him. And he's like, yeah, look at them. I got 1 and I got 2. Show them your bags. And they hold up their Burger King bags. And he said something about like hashtag buy a black person lunch or something like that. Like that was him. Apology lunch.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. Apology lunch.
Sorry
yeah.
for all
there
these
it is.
years of.
There it is. Let's play it real quick so you can see how ridiculous this is. Oh, you got to unmute it over there.
White people and the rest of you motherfuckers, I'm starting
Wow.
a trend. Look what I got. 1, 2. Oh, show them the bag. Let us see the bag. Hashtag apology lunch. Go find yourself a black person and buy him some fucking food.
Wow.
Hashtag
That's what you get, though. That's what you get.
That's
You know
all
what
you
I'm saying?
get.
That's our reparations.
That's
right?
reparations right there, right?
And that's-
reparations. That is
that
fun.
and that's that you can do something. now people can call that love,
Right.
right? But if you're not meeting the needs of those people, then it's not real love.
Right.
There's no love behind that.
Nah.
There's no love.
But
they
behind
think-
that.
Not even a little
It's
love.
That's
No.
What did you call it? A false
No.
what?
false sympathy.
False sympathy.
Yeah.
That's what that is right
Right,
there.
right.
But I wanted to get into what Moon was talking about
Yeah.
because recently, I don't know if you guys have seen that drone footage of over in China when someone flew a drone over an area and showed a bunch of people being brought into trains. They were blindfolded, being brought into trains to
Yeah.
concentration camps. Which
They're on their knees, like with their hands like that.
So, I mean, apparently, from what they're saying, these are the Uyghurs out there. And for those that don't know, these are the people that are being rounded
And what
up
do
in
they
China.
call the re-education camps?
Re-education
Yeah.
camps, yeah. Which is basically deprogramming you from your belief system
Right.
into
It's
following
basically-
the communist ideals.
Yeah, your belief system is wrong.
Okay,
And you
Rachel
take on
found it
ours.
here. Let's check it out. That's pictures. Okay, so these are some images from what the drone saw. But so they're lining these people up, putting them like on their knees, blindfolding them, and piling them in trains.
Like how they did the Jews.
Like how they did the Jews.
Yeah.
But the sad part about it is that no one is willing to call that out, especially these corporate billionaires, because they're so in bed with China financially. Like I remember Ted Cruz or somebody was just asking Mark Cuban about it, and you know he's part owner of the Mavericks, I think.
Yeah, well, that's what just happened with. I mean, not maybe a year and a half ago, when all of this stuff was first started coming on the scene, and they were talking about pulling the NBA out of China and support out of China, and they were looking to LeBron as one of the
He
biggest
didn't wanna speak
spokespersons.
on it.
No,
He didn't
he
want to
didn't wanna say
speak on
nothing.
it
Right,
because, like you said, it would affect his money.
right.
All the
And he was
superstars.
like, well, a couple of them said something. I don't remember exactly who, but a couple people spoke out. But they were looking for the big stars to speak
Yeah.
out, and they wouldn't. And even Commissioner Adam Silver kind of.
I think he the one that said free. Who was the one that said free Hong Kong?
It was
tweet?
a host.
It was a
It
GM.
was the GM of the Houston Rockets,
Right,
I believe
right.
it was. He's
Right.
the one who said something,
Right.
and they tried to.
And then James Harden kicked his back in and was like, we don't want to speak on that. you know what I mean?
Exactly, like, yo, you messing up my money.
Right.
And so, like, that's another example of how money dictates what we care about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because but these are the same people that will run around here and act like they're championing these
They're doing something.
these rights for people, these
Right.
ideas
Exactly.
that we care about you, we care about your rights. Black Lives Matter is on the back of our jerseys. But you can't, if you try to get free Hong Kong on the back of a jersey, you ain't allowed to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What'd you
Exactly.
say? False what?
False sympathy.
There you go.
So I did I went once you sent that tweet. I actually looked up like where they came from. They're like in a section on the western side of China where it borders like Turkey, because they actually speak like Turkish, like
Like
maybe
a Turkish dialect.
Yeah.
Turkish.
Nowhere near Turkey.
No, where they come from, I forgot exactly what the province is. Like it borders.
What's that? What's that, Rach?
It said it borders where they come from. It borders like 8 different countries.
Your mic number
So-
6.
So this has been going on for like a while.
This is from
Like-
the BBC, and this is basically just like an investigation. It looks like an investigation
Yeah.
article with a whole bunch of
They-
links.
Okay.
They investigated. They said they investigated it, but that they actually like did something fake. I think it seemed like, you know, the re-educational. They made it look like it was some happy thing or whatever like that.
That's what the,
Yeah.
That's what the government is saying. That the government denies the claim, saying people willingly.
The Chinese government denies it? Oh,
The Chinese,
shocker.
yeah.
Special vocational schools which combat terrorism and religious extremism.
Yeah, they showed videos of them like playing the piano and doing dances and stuff like that. It's
After the organ harvesting or before? Like, when is this happening?
it
so
might
I'm
have been
clear on
before.
this. Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, there's people literally showing up dead with their organs harvested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They found out that, what were they saying? That the time to get an organ has dropped drastically in China now?
Yeah.
Like, but the problem is the unwillingness for like someone like Mark Cuban, who to be asked about it, like, are you even able to say free Hong Kong because of your connection? And he's like, well, I would never speak on the domestic politics of another country.
Right.
It's like, no, you're talking about people being rounded up and killed.
Exactly.
That's not
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's not domestic politics, bro.
Right,
like,
right.
but when it hits their pockets, they now all of a sudden they have nothing to say.
Right.
You know. And this is what
Terrible.
people need to
This is
people need to be aware of. Like,
real
what are you
concentration
supporting?
camps. Yeah.
When you're out there, you know, filling them stands and watching those NBA games, like, you're supporting that. You're
But people are waking up though, because I think people are questioning those celebrities and their fake outrage, if you will. Because I think maybe 5-10 years ago, I'll say about 10 years ago, most people would probably live or die or whatever some superstar said. But now I think people have access to information, and because people are cross-shopping things, they're able to see that they're not consistent in their outrage or whatever it is.
Right.
And obviously the one reason that people can normally point to is finances.
Yeah.
Your finances are tied to that, or, you know, something very lucrative for you. So you will pick and choose how outraged you are.
Right.
And that's what people are noticing. More people are noticing that, I think.
right along those lines to something that Kyle wanted to talk about was the Chiefs changing their name. Not the Chiefs,
Redskins.
the Redskins changing their name. The Chiefs, the other natives. They wasn't going to do shit about it. Matter of fact, what's the owner's name?
Dan Snyder
Dan
Snyder,
Snyder
yeah.
Right.
was saying, like, we'll never change the name until FedEx
adamantly said,
until-
I will never
Right.
change the name of the team.
But then FedEx was about to pull out from the stadium.
Correct.
FedEx and one other big company.
Everything is connected to this guy. This episode. This is the FedEx episode. We're going to change the title.
Don't tell us some secrets,
Huh?
man. Come on.
Who? Nike had an issue with it
Nike,
too.
yeah.
Okay.
Nike
yeah.
was
so
backing out.
2 of the biggest sponsors. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Well, the biggest part to the Dan Snyder side of it was his deal with FedEx is up in like 2 or 3 years. So in order for them to renew, he had to make a decision.
Right.
So he thought he could go back to, because they actually play in Maryland right now.
Right.
He wants to go back to RFK Stadium, but he wanted FedEx to redo it and move
Yeah.
back to actually Washington D.C. And this whole thing happening, like,
To me, it's like
no.
another example of false sympathy.
Right.
You know, all
Because
these companies-
The fact that Nike has a problem with that name but doesn't give a shit about what's happening in China is hilarious. It's
exactly.
laughable.
Yeah, it is.
It's laughable. Like, you care about a name. You know what I
Laughable,
mean?
not laughable.
That's why we gotta like even pay attention. Like, who are we giving our money to?
Right.
Right.
You know,
That's the
right.
main thing right
I
there.
think we like.
I'm looking at my shoes right now. Like, sheesh.
I got
We,
Nike
we
on
haven't
right now.
we haven't paid attention to that.
We haven't.
You know, we just been marketed to and been kind of programmed by the marketing, and now it's like, wait a minute, what am I giving my.
And we make it easy because all they do is put Colin Kaepernick's face on a poster, and everyone
we
lines
do?
up to buy the new Nikes. It's
What do we do though, bro? Like we sew our own pants.
What you mean?
No, you hold people
No,
accountable.
exactly.
You hold people accountable. Like you stop buying the stuff if they're doing what they're doing. You know, you stop
Yeah.
buying it.
It's the
And not
same-
only that, stop voting for people that are selling us out, selling our manufacturing to China.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we are constantly doing it.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We're constantly because we want our dollar to stretch longer. But at the same time, what we're doing is we're creating our own deathbed.
And
in
it's
the
not
economy.
it's not just the it's the politicians too. 'cause-
That's what I just said. I
Yeah,
said stop
right,
voting
right,
for
yeah,
them.
right.
But that is one of the things that Trump was talking about. Like, stop.
Oh, he's been
buying.
talking
Yo,
about
Trump
China.
been talking about China way before.
No, but that's my point. Like when
Right.
everyone wants to just down Trump, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump hater. But you know,
yeah.
you gotta listen to the politics. of
Right
what
and
they're
right
talking
and wrong
about.
is wrong.
Exactly.
And if someone is saying something right, you can't just say everything they say is terrible because they're not on your team.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's where
Yeah.
we've come in
Exactly.
politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you don't know what's right, it's harder to see that.
Right. But the funny thing is, Biden's son was on the board of some multi-billion-dollar company in China. They flew him over there. And, you know what I mean? Like this dude is linked to that government. So it's like, what are we talking about?
No. Yeah.
Like, do your research. People got to do their research. If you stop being an emotional voter, and that's what people are.
But how many people pay attention to the mayor? To the
Not-
council?
not many.
You know, like,
Not many.
so I think this is good in a way where it's starting to show, especially like on a local level. Like it's important.
I am so guilty of that shit, bro.
Me too. Hey,
No,
I
we all are.
We all
Listen.
are. We all are.
That my last show was about that. About you got to get into your local politics,
You
and
do.
I
You
can't even take full credit for just coming up with that. I was doing
Yeah.
my own research, trying
Yeah.
to see what I can do, and one of the points kept coming up. Know who your local politicians are. Know who your freeholder is. Know who your assemblymen
And know who
are.
they're connected to.
Exactly. And so,
Yeah.
are they going to have your best interests when you vote for them? Are they going to do what's good for your city, your township, your state? You know, so if you start there and hold those people accountable, because those are the people who end up becoming career politicians.
Yeah.
If you get the right people in at the local level,
Right.
they may grow into, what you want to see.
right.
Doubt it.
That's
Because
how they're
lobbyists will
picked. If you can-
pretty
yeah.
much
Start
catch
at your
them.
own house. Say that all the time.
Start at your own house because, and this is why you start at your own house, because if you don't start at your own house, that's going to make you choose the wrong person a lot of
Yeah,
times.
right.
Because why are you going to choose? So they can give you something, so they can enable you
Right.
to do the same things, or enable you, or really empower you
Right.
to do things for you. Like, what's up?
What?
No, just Kyle. James looks sleepy again.
I'm listening.
Kyle Mack.
Oh, Kyle's
Yeah, he's commenting.
So
Kyle's commenting over there. James been working hard. Okay, leave him alone.
what are we doing in terms of our own houses, and are we humbling ourselves to see, like, am I doing this because I want to get something out of it for myself, which is in turn selfish and might not be a good inheritance from my kids
Right.
later on down the line, or is it just to better me for the moment? Because then my kids are going to grow up in that same ideology,
Right.
right? And if I'm looking out for myself, well, then that's the principles I'm setting for my kids that are just going to look out for themselves. They might turn it on me because the principle I set was to look out for myself.
Right.
So now they doing the same thing. They're like, no, you got to honor your dad. And it's like,
Nope,
but
you're
Dad-
going into this home so I can go live my life.
Right. Exactly.
But Dad, this is what you do.
Right.
You know, like,
Yeah. Don't do what I do.
yeah. What's that? What's
Do
that?
what I say, not what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all heard that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think this is a time where, because of everything that's going on, people are like, I know for us, we didn't start paying attention to what was really happening politically until it became clear that there's some shit going on. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it takes, like, I've been getting reached out to by like a lot of the younger dudes that I deal with, and they're just kind of saying like, yo, like, what's happening right now? Like, I never paid attention, but now I'm starting to look because it's becoming obvious.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what pressure does.
Right.
It makes you, like I was singing that song, but it's the truth. Like, Where Do We Go? And that song is about to come out.
Right.
Called Where Do We Go? But where do we go from here when it all stops making sense? And that's when it all stops making sense. When you don't start perceiving what's going on anymore.
You can't just put everything in the box that you put it
yeah.
into every day when you wake up and say, okay, this goes here, that goes there, I'm good.
Yep.
You know?
And it makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
And a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable. They want to be comfortable. But when you get uncomfortable, it's an opportunity to either pay attention, humble yourself, or put up a bigger wall.
Right.
You know? And nobody wants to be. People get offended because they get uncomfortable.
Mhm.
When you get uncomfortable, they're like, that's when they want to fight you because you're disrespecting their comfort zone.
Yep.
You know?
And the other thing too is I think people need to learn to undistract themselves. Sometimes a lot of it is you're just too distracted with life, with sports, with entertainment, with food,
And
with
that's
this,
another
and-
purposeful thing.
And your energy and everything that you do is poured into that. So you don't really have time to research your local politicians like you guys were talking about, or find out who your town councilman.
Yeah.
That's null and void. You got to go to a soccer game. You got to go here. Your kids got dance recital. You've
Season
woven
25 of
yourself
The Bachelor.
Or,
if that's your thing. But you've woven yourself into the fabric of the everyday wheel of
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can't untangle yourself. So you don't have time to really look into this stuff and find out that your local councilman owns this contracting company that hand his brother this contractor to build
Right.
this mall and
Right.
this and that. And next thing you know, you're like, what? Who owns what?
Yeah.
And you're just, but you never paid attention.
or they just don't care. Like we talk about it all the time, the Matrix.
Yeah, but that's what,
What
he's saying,
pill?
kind of the same
Yeah.
thing. Like, they don't care because they're distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the thing is,
Not distracted. I'm saying they don't want to know.
No, they don't want
There's
to.
certain people
Yeah.
that
So
You know what I'm
you
saying?
can even have a
They
conversation
want,
with.
like the guy from the Matrix.
Yeah.
He want to eat his steak and
Right.
his
Some people,
his,
yes.
Exactly.
Right.
baked potato.
Yeah.
You know,
But
he'd
that's-
rather take that pill. He
but
don't want to know
I
the
think
truth.
that's the programming of being distracted
Right.
and then not wanting to come out of that. Even though you might see a little bit of it, it's still programming. You know what I mean? And that's why it takes like a COVID-19 or some crazy stuff.
Right, right.
Came from China, by the way. Just gonna put that.
It's true. It's true.
It takes
the
stuff like
Chinese,
that.
the Wuhan, Rand's not gonna like the
I'm just saying. It, I just said it came from
Or-
China. That is the
Or
true
even,
fact.
or even all the stuff that's starting to creep up in the cities and everything
Right, right.
that's coming to
Dude,
people's
Portland?
doorsteps.
Portland
right.
is literally about to be overthrown. Like, have y'all been keeping up on Portland?
I mean,
That's where the cop is
No.
from, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
What cop?
that cop,
The black
in
Oh
video,
yeah, the black cop. Yeah, I want to play
Like-
that video. Black cop.
Ridiculous,
See if you can-
ridiculous.
see
You're
if you-
yelling at a black guy who's a cop,
Yeah, yeah.
saying racist stuff. What you're supposed to be protesting.
Yeah, this black cop from Portland was setting the scene out there, and he was just saying how it's pretty interesting how he can be at a Black Lives Matter protest, and all of the protesters are white, and there's more black and brown people on the police force than are protesting. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that the protesters are in their face. These white people are in their face telling them, you got the biggest nose I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Saying stuff like that. Like saying racist stuff
That is
Right.
to the police officer in the name of Black Lives Matter. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, this is the guy right here. See, you got to learn. Rachel be showing you up. bro.
Hey, you know.
Rand said she
That's what
can't
she's-
stand you, Mo.
I knew that was coming.
Huh?
Rand, Rand loves me.
Kyle, did you know this story?
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Oh, okay.
Why would you even ask that question?
Just wanted to see if see, Kyle, some stereotypes are real.
He's too busy paying attention if I'm sleeping or not.
Yeah, right. He's thinking of clips he's going to use
He's
for
going to use
later.
me.
That's what
He's going to use me in a commercial.
Yeah.
This is James.
What is James doing?
It's gonna be a meme.
Do they have the video of him
Outside
talking
my window.
on that? Okay. Yeah, but you can hear him going through talking about.
But we talked about this about 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
These young kids that are doing this, they're a product of a certain thing.
Yep.
Their parents who didn't give a crap.
Yes, we did. For those that don't know, me and James have our own podcast that no one ever sees. That happens.
Y'all been
every
having
day.
this for years.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just gave too much of a crap.
No, I don't.
In the wrong way.
No, this is what we were saying, and this is our theory. Let me know what you guys think about this, because this is our take on it. So when you talk about their forefathers and the ones that set up this system in a way where there was a lot of racism, a lot of bigotry, a lot of things that were in place out of fear and insecurity of losing their position to blacks that were moving up in power or whatever. So they set up a lot of these systems, whether it's Jim Crow laws, redlining, all those things that we know existed
To ensure
that black people could not reach a certain status.
Right.
So now you're looking at the effects of their own grandchildren and great-grandchildren now rebelling against their own system.
Right.
Because it was done out of
Yeah, and they set
it
up a
was
false
done out of
god.
their own fear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They set up a false system.
So that's what you're seeing now. You're seeing the repercussions of that way of
Right.
of dealing with society instead of saying, all right, black people are good at these things. Let's build this thing together.
Let's work cohesively.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's set up a system where we can oppress them in certain ways, where we can keep our power, keep our money. And now you're watching their own great grandchildren and grandchildren
Right. Because they can't guarantee a utopia.
lash out against them.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? That's what you're seeing. Like they're at the federal court building now trying to break it down in Portland, they want to dismantle the entire system of America
Right.
now.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is
But
clear on
doesn't
rebellion.
that have to do with like when you are selfish?
That's exactly what
and
you were saying.
Yes, when you're
That's
selfish and then you do that and it just breeds more selfishness in your kids.
Right.
So
What's
then
the
they just
ultimate
burn down
selfishness?
everything.
Marxism.
Yeah.
Right.
And a house divided can't stand. And isn't that what Abraham Lincoln spoke about
Yeah.
during the Civil War?
Yo, Rand should be on board with this because she knows Cambodia came out of Marxism and they came out to lose
Come on,
again.
man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
She'll tell you real quickly she was born in Thailand.
I was born in Thailand too.
Moan
I
does
know,
not-
I'm just saying.
Finally, he admits it.
listen, one of these days we're gonna do a whole episode about Moan's mom's journey. We did a whole interview with her that we have all the video footage of.
Right.
And we're going to show that story so people can really understand what it was like to go through that Pol Pot communist regime that was based off of that Marxist
know about that.
ideology.
Right.
You saw the movie though, right?
What, Killing Field?
First they shot my father.
Yeah,
The
that's on
movie,
Netflix.
the movie got nothing
No, I know.
on what happened with Moan's mom. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
My mom watched it. Like, she cried. It was emotional. Brought back
I
some,
cried
some
watching it with
memories.
Red,
but she was like, that is nothing compared to what I lived.
Oh, you can,
Right.
You
they're gonna dramatize everything. They can't. If they showed the truth about most stuff, people wouldn't be able to stomach that. They would say,
Right.
"How could people do that to other people?"
that's what we're talking about with like some of this stuff that's happening now with Epstein and all of these. Like a lot of people just don't even want to pay attention because they're like, I didn't want to believe that humans could do this.
Right.
To children,
Yeah.
Right,
or
right.
whoever.
Right.
I have an idea, but I don't want to know.
Right. Exactly. I've heard these things. but I don't want to know.
But isn't that what
you
we're
don't want it
saying?
confirmed.
Right.
What we were
Yeah.
talking about when there was a time when if those very people who the grandchildren now are rioting and burning things, had they said, look, let's work cohesively as we don't have to see eye to eye on everything, but let's work together as a community. Let's build a better society instead of those people belong down there and we
Right.
belong over here. And now, fast forward, if they could come back to life and see that their grandkids are tearing down statues that they would have honored.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you all set up false gods anyway.
Right.
You know?
So now their great grandchildren, grandchildren, great grandchildren are tearing down the statues.
The very thing they built.
that you built.
The very thing you built, they're tearing it down. And it's
Yeah.
your own.
Right.
Well, it's resentment because now they have to live in this world that their grandparents
Exactly.
established.
Yeah.
And and now they're facing down that guilt of the idea that this is because of them in
Right.
some way. You
And
know what I
not
mean?
only that, they're selfish too.
right.
And a lot of them are very narcissistic. So they just want to it's really about them just getting in a space where they feel safe, a safe space.
Yeah.
False sympathy.
So there you go.
False sympathy. Yep.
And so it's really not about. That's why they can turn on the black dude, the black cop. They can
Right.
turn on him because they're not seeing it. They're not seeing the overarching thing. They're looking at themselves first, and then looking at everybody else through those lenses
Right.
of how they view their situation.
Okay, so we got the video.
you're at a Black Lives Matter protest, you have more minorities on the police side than you have in a violent crowd, and you have white people screaming at black officers, you have the biggest nose.
Why they had to zoom in on his nose, though?
That was real wrong.
That was
right
messed
there.
up, man.
What was it like in that
His nose not
capacity
even that
the
big.
first few weeks
It's
when
not.
that fence was
He does
up
have
around
Patrick
the
Ewing
Justice
nostrils,
Center?
though.
I got to see folks that really do want change, like the rest of us, that have been impacted by racism. And then I got to see those people get faded out by people that have no idea what racism is all about. Never experienced racism. They don't even know that the tactics that they are using are the same tactics that were used against my people. And they don't even know they don't even know the history. They don't know what they're saying. Coming from someone who graduated from PSU with a history degree, it's actually frightening. You know, they say if you don't know your history, you repeat it, and watching people do that to other people. A lot of times, someone of color, black, Hispanic, Asian, come up to the fence and directly want to talk to me. Hey, what do you think about George Floyd? What do you think about what happened about this? I go up to the fence, someone white comes up, F the police, don't talk to him. That was the most bizarre thing, because I could see it coming. I even had a young African-American girl tell me, why is it you guys aren't talking to us? I said, honestly, this is now the 23rd day of doing it. Every time I try to have a conversation with someone that looks like me, someone white comes up and blocks them and tells them not to talk. And then right when I said that, this white girl popped right in front of her. She said, he just said that was going to happen. I said, straight up. I said, I've been called the N-word. She's been called the N-word. Why are you talking to me this way? Why do you feel that she can't speak for herself to me? Why is it that you feel you need
That's
to
some
speak
racist
for
shit.
her
like, I need to
when
tell
we're
you who
having
to
a
talk to.
conversation? And when you go to a gentrified community, and one of the first pictures I saw, that one of the business that was looted was a black-owned business. I'm like, they're not even from here. They don't even know what they're even doing.
I don't think it's racist. I think it's greed.
No, but I'm
In
saying
terms-
like
I know what
in-
you're saying,
I'm
but-
saying in the way they've laid it out.
Yeah.
The way they've laid out this term racist, right? What you're doing and stepping in and saying, don't talk to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you feel like you need to go
Right, and you should
explain
yeah.
to a black person who they shouldn't
Exactly.
talk to. Like
But
It's control.
it's control, and it's
Yeah.
really about. You're-
what's that? Who's that? Who's that? Is that Kyle?
Is that
Who
Kyle?
is that? My phone's dead.
It's
so that ain't me.
control. It's the Karens of the world.
It's
Yeah.
control,
Karens.
and it's control through fear because of wanting to get what they think they're going to get out of it,
Right.
and you're standing in the way
You're
of
standing
that.
in the way.
But it's also tied to a little bit of racism too, though, which is I'll tell you what to believe
Right,
and what to
right.
do.
I
have
mean, I
control.
You're
think-
messing this up.
Yes.
You're
I-
messing up what we're doing.
I think racism is just like that's not the ultimate. That's just a by.
Right. That's a
not-
byproduct
yeah.
of what their agenda is for chaos, anarchy, destroy the system.
Yeah.
But they're
So
using
the racism
part of that,
just like they're but the my point of it is they're just as racist as the people they're
Of
saying
course,
they're railing
of
against.
course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think they want to be the white savior, though.
But they're, in the way they're doing it, it makes you racist.
No,
You
I
know what
get
I'm
it,
saying?
but in their head,
like
they're-
not to me,
No,
not
I-
to me, because I believe prejudice exists in all people.
Of
You know what I'm
course, of
saying?
course.
But
Correct.
I'm saying the way they
That's
lay
a good
it out.
point, though, the white savior
Yeah.
thing. Because if two black people having that conversation, she's like, don't talk, don't listen to
Yeah.
him. She didn't even know that guy.
Well, it's just the same. It's the same thing as like, everybody. They always say this like in the white communities, like they want to save the world, they want to join the Peace Corps, and then they grow up and realize it's not that easy.
Right.
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 But I'm
That's
telling
what
you,
happened.
there is a white savior trope.
There is.
Or mentality.
Well, that's what I
With
mean. They
people
want to
that-
join the Peace Corps. They
Yeah.
want to save the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they want to say. They feel like they
I'll
have
just
that.
tell him what to do.
And this was at the point. How many days he say it was that they were
23.
23. Now we're at like 50 something days of day after day. Them
Right.
now. I think just today they broke into the like they gave. I don't know if they gave them the federal building now.
Right.
Maybe you can look this up, Rach, and see. But I think like they
Now,
broke into the federal building.
Let's go back, right? Because we know we've been to Seattle. We've
Been
been
to
to
Portland, yeah.
And when we
That is-
we I think it was like what the first time we went to Portland was like 4 years ago, maybe even 5.
Yeah.
And we were like, yo, this is crazy.
It's
Yeah.
a different world.
This
feels like a
is
different
so,
country.
it was so, what's the word?
Hipster.
Hipster.
Hipster, liberal.
That everybody was trying to be too cool.
Dude, the show Portlandia.
Yeah,
You ever see that?
I've never been.
I've
but
never saw that.
I heard
I've seen a few
When,
episodes. It's-
when I watched that show Portlandia,
Yeah.
after being there, I
Yeah,
was like, this
you get
is
it.
so
Yeah.
on point. This is so on point. Like everybody there
Right.
wants to be so woke. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what you're getting now.
And I had a conversation with my son the other day because he was like, he saw a video and he was like saying to Lucas, joking around, what are those?
Oh,
like,
he said,
right?
what are those?
Yeah. So I guess he must have saw a video or something.
Yeah.
So I said, why are you saying that? I just saw the video. I'm like, don't say that. Don't just do stuff because you think it's cool that somebody did it
Right.
and not know why.
Right.
Because now you're just feeding into what everybody else does, and whatever you think is cool, you're gonna do, right? And you have no foundation for anything,
Right.
And this is what happens, like a Portland. We saw it. Like you have all these people thinking they're
there
cool.
was dudes riding like old school bicycles with suspenders and like handlebar mustache.
Everybody was wearing black.
Yeah.
Remember that one
Right.
area with the long
We went to the
cuts
one
and all the shirts.
Where
and
did we? Wasn't that in Portland? We went to that restaurant that they turned like this metal.
it was still,
Yeah.
yeah,
the
the
steel
factory type of
factory
thing.
into a restaurant, and like,
Yeah.
oh man, it's just,
And-
it's
yeah.
just like,
I don't remember the food being that good.
no, it wasn't. It was all about
and
the,
and they gave us the burgers on like wire.
everything was like sustainable.
Yeah, weird.
Right.
But it was like you couldn't even eat it really on. I remember it was like, dude, this is the worst to try to eat something on, like just so it can be cool. And like Seattle, remember
Seattle,
the
man,
the pizza
the pizza place we went
Right.
to, which again, if anyone pizza.
This was right after
Okay,
Pizzagate.
think about this. We went to a
You know what
pizza
Pizzagate
place in
is?
Seattle.
No. Yes, I do.
You know what Pizzagate is?
Kyle Mack knows what Pizzagate is.
No, he
now.
doesn't, because he really didn't pay attention during our
Oh,
shadows. He still don't know
Kyle.
I had to ask about it. Jamie told me.
Yeah, but anyway, so we go to Seattle, and it didn't help that we had just ate some edibles. So that was another story about
I
it.
tapped out, by the
Yeah.
way.
But when we went to the pizza place, we walk in, and the menus are in children's books. Like all the menus are like made in children's books.
What is it? Trying to tap into the nostalgia?
It made no sense.
It just was weird,
It
man.
made no sense.
And then like all the characters coming in and out, and all the people walking across the street. It was just like the whole
Pizzagate.
time there, I
the
just, bro.
Look at John John's face.
That's where it all began.
Yeah, I
But
just
it was
Probably.
like, to me, it was like, even if it doesn't have to do with that, it's like I'm gonna do something so cool,
right.
you know.
They
and it
brought the
takes-
receipts in those purse things, right?
Yeah, in like a little woman's like money bag
Yeah,
purse
yeah.
thing, and it's like
It was just so.
they
over
hand
the
us
top.
this thing, and it's like
It was so
You
over
gotta
the
open
top,
it up
man.
to-
Like it's
Yeah.
just like trying to be different so
trying
bad.
so bad, and it just becomes you're so far gone that you don't know what reality is,
Right.
And that's what you see. Like,
But
that's
look,
what you
where was
see in Portland.
Chaz?
Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Now look what's happening with Portland. Like they're trying to. I don't know if Rachel has found this at all, but they're trying to take over. They've been trying to take over this federal court building, you know, and they brought in some federal officers because the police just gave it to them. So they brought
Just
in
like in Seattle.
Yeah, so they brought in federal officers to defend this building, and then all of the media, of course, says, you know, the army is
Yeah.
the insurgency is happening, and you know, it's like,
The mayor is snapping on Trump.
yeah, but that's what they do, and
Yeah.
they don't understand that like all of these cities, these mayors, they don't really care. Like,
Well, again, watch who you vote for,
Right.
Because there's
Yeah.
a lot of people in Portland and Seattle that don't want anything to do with this. But you have these. They're probably a minority of people that are speaking like they're a majority,
right.
Because they're the most loud.
What do we got there, Rach? You mind reading that a little bit? I can't see it.
This is from the BBC. U.S. President Donald Trump sent federal agents to Portland and Oregon to end weeks of anti-racism protests there, but the mayor of Portland has called for them to leave the U.S. city. Nightly protests, police brutality in Portland since the death of George Floyd. Basically,
right, now see
yeah.
if you can find some video footage of that, because that's the funny thing is like when you read the articles on it, every article that I've seen, especially New York Times, Washington Post, all of them, it's like these peaceful protesters are just out there, they care about racism and they're just peaceful and they're just out there being peaceful. And then you see the footage and they're like taking sledgehammers to windows and like
Summer of Love.
yeah, like they're hitting cops over the head. They're like going crazy
Yeah.
out there. And it's like, what do you expect them to do?
Right.
This is a federal building. You just want to let them just tear it down? What they want to do is they want to get in there and burn it down.
Right.
You know what I mean? So are we supposed to just let them?
Right.
Like, what is that? But
What's even the purpose of them burning down the federal building? Just get rid of federal records?
just
and-
anarchy, man. Chaos.
Lawlessness.
It's chaos, man.
Violence.
What was the
Fight
point?
Club.
What was the point of Chaz?
I don't know.
Do you know what Chaz is? You don't know what Chaz is?
They took over like 4 or 5 blocks.
6
of,
blocks.
6 blocks of Seattle.
No.
6 blocks of Seattle.
No law, no nothing.
Right around the 3rd precinct in Seattle, they the protesters basically the mayor told the police department to disengage and they just exited the precinct.
Yeah.
Protesters ran in, took it over, then started immediately building a wall around the 6
In a
block.
strange effort.
Yeah. Something they're supposed to be against.
Right,
Walls.
exactly.
We hate walls and
They
police.
built a wall around a 6
Murder.
block
And
radius.
police their own community.
And decided they were gonna this community was gonna secede from the U.S. So it was like when you entered, they called it the Chaz, the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Right.
So it's like you step in there, you're not in the U.S. anymore. You're in our grounds now.
Right.
Gotcha.
So what ended up happening was it went on for about a couple weeks, maybe 14 days, before 6 people got killed. One of them being an unarmed black teenager by
Yeah.
the Chaz police that they
had a
put in
100%
place.
murder
with
rate.
AK, with guns and AKs.
Walls and murder.
That someone was showing like the murder rate in
Right.
Chaz compared to the U.S. was like
Right.
not even
Chaz
comparable.
did
Like,
not start off right.
but
They gave guns to people who were like, "Oh, do you know how to use a gun?"
Yeah.
I've seen a video of a guy, like a
The
kid,
warlord that comes in.
yeah.
They're-
My city now.
And his name was Raz.
Raz.
and handling a
Raz
gun.
from Chaz.
Handling a gun
Saw the
before the dude clearly didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
You
All
know.
right, here's some Twitter footage.
Okay. Yeah, this is them.
Portland?
This is the peaceful protesting they keep talking about on the.
I think this is the federal building here.
Yeah,
or
this is.
side of
Do you
it.
see it completely covered in
Everything.
yeah, and they're trying to get inside of this building because they had to board it up, they had to put fencing around it, and they just constantly keep. I mean, it's been over 50 days of them trying to get into this building, It's crazy. But yeah, same thing happened at the Chaz. But in Seattle, the mayor just gave it to him.
Right.
And the mayor came on the news and they were like, "Well, what do you expect to happen?" And she was like, "Well, I think it's going to be a summer of love, And
Until
what happened was
Until.
she called in the police to end it once the protesters went to her house.
Oh, once
They
you hit
found-
home,
they
now
found-
all
they-
of a sudden
they found
it's a
out where
problem.
she lived.
It don't matter
They found out
until-
where she lived and they went to her house and then she said, "Okay, that's it. Y'all done."
Yeah, when it comes to your doorstep, it becomes something different.
Right.
I was thinking about that with the drug epidemic
Yeah.
of like the 90s and 80s, with the crack.
Just say no. What's so hard
Yeah,
about
exactly.
that?
And like there was no sympathy
No,
to
none.
crack
because they were
addicts
None.
locking,
in
they
the
were
city.
locking them
Just
all
say
up.
no.
But when the heroin comes
Now
into
we
the
need to all be
suburbs and-
understanding. Yeah.
Opioid
Now it's-
pandemic.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's a disease.
Right.
Shows intervention.
Yeah.
Intervention is all about that.
We talk about this all the time. The show Intervention. How many times have you seen a black person on that show?
once, and it was a famous dude.
Football player. I mean, boxer from Camden, actually.
But this is
I
what I'm
never
saying.
wa- I
Like
never watched
that show is all
The
about.
other guy was from Jersey. He was from
Yeah.
Willenboro.
Yeah,
the singer.
That show is all about digging into the background story of these addicts and showing what caused their addiction
Right.
and how we need to feel sympathy for them and get them the help that they need.
Right.
And the
Right.
family comes together and they read them these stories about we love you, blah, blah, blah. But we don't have that same energy, and we didn't have that same energy for the crack epidemic and like all of those drugs that were funneled into the black community. Even like the black heroin addicts in the 70s, the 80s, like
Yeah.
Yeah, 40s, 50s.
40s, 50s, yeah. Like
Crime bills were written.
Yeah.
right.
You know.
And the articles too, the sensationalism of the articles and the news, the reporting. I've went back and looked into war on drugs and the effort. I mean, first of all, it was political,
Right.
and it was
Absolutely.
economical. But just the way the news would report it and the way the articles were spun, it definitely had a heavy racial undertone. And now it has changed to more of a thing where these people need rehabilitation. And I agree with that, but I understand what you're saying about having the same energy,
Right.
you know, and it's
Yeah.
led to, you know, societies falling apart.
Absolutely.
I was watching what's the guy? August.
Oh, the entanglement guy.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I was watching.
Mr. Entanglement.
I wanted to see like where he was, you know, what kind of person he was,
Right.
obviously. And he's been through a lot, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I was saying.
Been
That's
through a
what
lot.
we were.
That's what
Remember,
we were
I was saying that last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
But
We have a
she's-
take on it
She
too.
preyed
Yeah.
on dude,
Yeah.
man.
But like, I don't know if you guys know his story, but like he had his latest thing was he had an autoimmune disease, an issue with his liver, and like basically he almost died.
Yeah, that's when
Um,
she met him. Like, well, that's when she
Okay.
kind of like
Right.
came into his life. He was dealing with all of that.
Right. But even before that, like his sister died of cancer, his dad died. He was a drug addict. That he barely even knew his dad.
He was molested.
He was molested, by a family member, and his stepdad. I mean, this ain't funny, but he was like a crack addict too, and was like stealing stuff from the house all the time. Like, so he dealt with that like most of his life growing up. He was kicked out of his house by his mom at like 15 or something.
So he was a prime candidate to be groomed, basically.
But what I'm saying is that like this is like almost the norm. You know what I mean? In the inner city,
Yeah.
with a lot of people, and there just needs to be some kind of a focus,
Compassion for that.
and, to help people, but it has to be done in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And
It can't be done through welfare laws.
no,
and-
and I want to speak to this
Right.
because me and you saw how our neighborhood, that when we moved into our neighborhood, was a nice neighborhood.
And you just went back there
And
recently.
I just went back there, and this is what kind of brings it up. But we had like a court captain. We had
Johnny's mom was a court captain.
we had you had to pay your dues.
You had to pay
right?
dues.
and that
We
paid
had- we
for
had-
like landscaping. It paid for pool.
The pool.
Pool
Yeah. It was
dues.
kind of like condo fees. You paid that
Yeah.
dues. And,
Yeah,
and that
I know,
would
like
get
a
you-
HOA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of
But-
thing. But it wasn't a mandatory thing. It was something that everyone bought into.
Right,
As
right.
in, like, this
Right.
is what we're going to do to keep our community nice. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And it was a nice community. It was mixed. It was black, white, Hispanic. A very mixed community. I mean, of course you had some racism, but it was cool. Like we played with black people, played with white people, played with Spanish people. And as we grew up, and I would say like probably the early 90s, late 80s.
Late 80s to early
Yeah.
90s, yeah.
Things started to change to where they started incentivizing. Basically, people were buying up houses and they were incentivizing them to become what's it called?
Section 8.
Section 8 housing, right? So now you have people coming into there from Camden and a lot of from Philly, and they're coming in and they're not paying no dues.
Right.
They have no respect.
Right.
For the neighborhood. So now they're trashing the neighborhood.
Right.
And
Not
it's-
only that, they're barely paying anything to live in these homes, so they don't really like.
They don't care about
have
the
that-
house.
They don't have that
you're not
sense
gonna
of
care,
like I bought
You
this, so
worked
I
hard
need
for
to
it.
take. Yeah, you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Right,
saying.
It's not it's not a race thing.
Yeah.
It's you don't have any type of honor because you the way you grew up.
And we were talking about this before, that it's also the idea that you have to go through the process of learning how to steward over something,
Right.
to be able to take care of it.
Right.
If you're given something that you have no idea how to take care of, it's like if you're a kid and if you're 16 years old and your parents give you a freaking Porsche, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to know how to take care of that thing. You're going to beat the shit out of it, and it's going to be a piece of crap.
Unless they have prepared you ahead of time.
Unless
to
they
take care of it.
prepared you. Right.
But when you're not prepared ahead of time and you're just giving something because you feel bad for somebody, that's what I'm trying to say. That's false honor in somebody. You look at somebody and you say they're in need. Let me give them a need. But let me give them something. But if you don't give it in the right way, you're doing more harm to that person than good.
Right.
And that's what's been happening. They've been incentivizing all these policies and these laws that they've been putting in place that say they help black people or people in poverty. They're actually enabling them to stay the same way.
Yeah, I was telling James over the weekend that it got to the point where, remember in, I don't know if it was School 5 or if it was Edgewood Junior High, but remember when they, remember when they forced the bus driver to play 36
I was junior
Chambers?
high.
That was junior high?
That was junior high.
Remember I was telling you, they forced our bus driver to play the 36 Chambers album on our ride to school every day, to the point where like she was scared to say no. Because they would do shit. They would vandalize the bus. They would jump off the back of the bus when she stopped at a stop sign.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she was scared of getting in trouble, so she just did what they wanted. So, like, we literally were, that's how I got introduced to that album, was because, like, it became just this chaotic environment. Like,
and it's crazy because when you think about even that, 36 Chambers, like, this is the mentality, this is urban consciousness brought about by the inner city and trying to perceive something in the way that they can perceive it, right? So they came up with they were all 5%ers.
Oh, now we can move on to the Nick Cannon.
Yeah, that's what I
just want to make a point when you
go ahead.
I was going to say, but on what he's saying is absolutely true.
Right.
But that too is by design.
Right. Absolutely.
That too is by design. That when I looked into it, when Margaret Sanger came up with the idea of eugenics, and she didn't come up with it, but she decided to really build that system. She was really talking about how to destroy the family unit and how to remove it and how to separate. These social programs
sounds like another organization.
These social programs were going to inevitably create something where it don't matter how much you give them, they're going to be stuck in that cycle. You know what I mean? And that's what it does. I think people. I don't know how people aren't really looking at this from the historical standpoint to see where this has led us.
But
you know what I mean?
I think that is 100% true. And for what he's talking about is the side of it that thinks that you're helping by voting for these policies. You're helping by doing
but that's why you have to go look at who runs these policies and then go a little
what
further.
What was their real agenda?
Yes, what was their real agenda? You know what I mean?
Like Lyndon Johnson,
for
example.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that this dude, like I heard Charlemagne talking about, the fact that he was an ex-KKK member means that he made the biggest turnaround of all times. No.
Right.
That means that he put in some policies that ruined
and when
black
people talk like that, they're tied. They're too loyal to party ideals.
Right. It's like, no, this dude just figured out. He said, "I'm gonna have these niggas voting Democrat for 200 years."
Right.
Like he purposely
doing.
put these policies in place because he wanted to have people. He wanted to have the black vote locked in.
Right. And like we said, the what has been destroyed is the family structure. That if you destroy that, it's going to be hard.
Primarily the father.
Yeah, you destroy that, and they had a plan for that, and that was absolutely a racist. It was born out of that, and they were able to fulfill it because once they started passing out this money, the government became daddy. The government became my husband.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that plan was put in place because of the lack of melanin? I want to hit you with that question. I want to hit you with that question.
Kyle is the guest of honor, so we let Kyle take that.
Now you know I'm joking, but you know I'm touching on the Nick Cannon,
of course,
the Nick Cannon thing, and the other Kyle, the one who lacks the melanin, is gonna learn something from this conversation because he didn't know about this. But so did you have a chance to look into the Nick Cannon thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on what he said and where that went?
Well, first, that whole thing was just crazy.
Okay.
Number one, he set himself up when he started talking to Professor Griff in the first place, who was already made
He was
Semitic
kicked out
statements,
of
got kicked out of
Public
Public Enemy
Enemy because of that.
because of anti-Semitic statements and just going too far. But when you try and justify what you're saying with like pseudoscience, then you're screwed up.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, just watching some stuff and reading some stuff, someone made a good point where if he would have just said, you know, white people calling black people savages, but look at the actions of white people. They've done more savage things than people of color.
Right.
If
And
he'd have
left
just
it at
ended it
that.
at that,
Yeah.
who could
Yeah,
argue that
you got a
point?
point.
You see what I'm saying? Who could argue that
Yeah.
point?
Mm-hmm.
But when you say it's because you lack melanin,
Right.
and the lack of melanin makes you retreat to the
Where-
Caucasus Mountains.
Where's the proof? Where's the proof?
Where you're forced to, you know, live in harsh conditions and become like
Animalistic.
hard,
yeah.
animalistic, and you become a savage, and then you become like a barbarian, and you go and conquer and colonize the world. There's no scientific fact behind any of that.
Right.
So-
But that's based off of a paper that was written by a
The
professor.
ISIS papers.
The ISIS papers.
Right,
It was written by a professor. When was this written?
I forget.
70s.
I don't know. Maybe Rachel, see if you can find the clip of what Nick Cannon said, so we can get
Took it down, so you're gonna have to
Did they
dig
take it
for
down?
Oh, he took it down.
Well,
he took it
people
down
No,
still
himself.
have
but
it up.
it's gonna be somewhere.
Oh, no, it's
Trust me.
somewhere. No,
Plenty
it's
of
somewhere.
people. But no, the funny thing about that clip was that he reposted that from a podcast from a while ago.
Correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that
conversation was from either January or February.
Right. So he felt like this was a good
This
time.
is the time to throw
because
it out there.
Black people out here wilding, so I can say whatever I want. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I want to say something real quick. Andrew Schultz had a good point, which I loved.
Right.
He said Nick Cannon has always been a cornball.
In the black community,
Period.
right?
And in the black
Especially to
community,
blacks, yeah.
especially the black, he's been a cornball. And this is the era of wokeness.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can come out and you could pretend to be woker than thou, and you
with
can
his,
have this platform,
turban on,
right? You have the look, you have this, you're speaking the language you bring on Professor Griff. You're showing black people, see, y'all thought it was corny, but I'm getting down to the
Right,
nitty
right,
gritty.
right, right.
That's really
I'm
what he
conscious,
wants.
brother.
I'm
Y'all didn't know
conscious.
that.
Yeah.
And I think too, this is also the era where podcasting, streaming has exploded.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, even if you're a court jester like Nick is not really, he's a clown, but he does, these ideas are not his own. These are just regurgitated thoughts that he's heard.
Right.
Okay. He's not like Nick has a proven history of this kind of talk and this kind of rhetoric. He just is regurgitating what he heard, and that's it. And he's trying to pretend to be woker than thou, and he brought on Professor Griffin because he kept on saying it. I'm gonna probably get in trouble for saying this,
Right.
Because he knows, but he's just
But I'm gonna be real. Like he didn't get in trouble for saying any of that stuff.
Correct.
no, not that,
Not against white
Not that.
people.
Not that.
Let's play the clip. Rachel has it up there.
Let's see if this is what we're looking for.
Okay.
Can't hear it. Why not?
I haven't even
Power of
seen that.
melanated people.
I've
When we
only
talk-
seen
let's
this
go
one.
to what it really is then. When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as gods and
Right.
understanding that our melanin is so power and it
gods.
connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what, Dr. Francis C. Welsling talked about is that fear in that
Just genetic
that
annihilation.
deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the
Right.
lack of melanin,
Right.
that they know that they will be annihilated. So therefore, however they got the power, they have the lack of compassion. That melanin
love
comes
Rachel's
with
face
compassion.
right now.
Melanin comes with soul that we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So
Right.
the people that don't have it are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less, and where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around
Okay.
to Minister
He didn't say
Farrakhan,
it carefully
to
at
where
all.
they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun that was
Exactly.
The power
the
of the
sun then
sun.
started to deteriorate them. So
So
then
that's
they're
what
acting
coronavirus is trying to
out
turn
of
us all white.
fear.
That's the
Exactly.
plan.
They're acting
So we lose our
out
melanin.
of low self-esteem,
Like
they're
Michael
acting
Jackson.
out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they can they
That's
have
the
to rob,
that's the
steal,
conclusion.
rape, kill,
Okay.
and
Fight
kill
or
See how you did that
or
there.
in order
Can
to
we-
survive.
what we need now is that
So
clip
then
from Black Dynamite.
you have what we have, and and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Yeah.
See, this is to
I don't
Jake's
think you
point.
can even find the anti-Semitic stuff because I couldn't find it.
See if you can find what the anti-Semitic stuff
Yeah.
was. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, all of that he said, as crazy as that was, none of that got him in trouble.
Correct. But to Jake's point earlier, that's what you were telling your son not to do. He
Right.
read a book and just regurgitated,
Right.
didn't understand what he was saying, why he was saying it, what the grounds for what any of that meant was, and who it was going to affect and how it was going to affect him. And he just regurgitated it because it sounded cool to
And
him.
It sounds
and
good.
no, he didn't
Right.
bounce it off
Yeah.
anybody, have any conversation with
Exactly.
anybody. No one checked him and said, dude, that's just some stupid shit you just
He's
said.
having
right
a conversation with the worst person to have a
there."
conversation.
Exactly.
No one's gonna check
Yeah.
on that. And I think he's thinking about how good is this gonna make me look.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I agree.
Black
with that.
people are gonna love me
They're
now.
gonna love me now. Who gonna call me corny?
I mean,
But then I have a question. What does that make his kids? Are they like?
Are they half
Are
savages?
they?
Man, why you
are
gotta
they
say
part
stuff like that?
savage? Are they part savage? Like, are we?
No.
Or
what
him.
are we?
No, Mariah's
Or
black.
him.
Remember
He's
the
not-
one drop
he's
rule,
not-
man.
One drop.
Oh, no,
rule.
it's
Okay.
1/8.
No,
If
okay.
you're 1/8,
I can't keep
He's
up.
got some type
Negroid.
of white in
He's
him
He's like,
because he's not.
I
you know,
hate white people so much, but I love white women. I just gotta. That's what I do.
but yeah, he's talking about melanin.
Because
See
they
if
silent
this
or
is-
they attempted to silence Minister Farrakhan
Right.
now, and they did the exact same thing to you. If the true children of Israel
Are black people.
are black people, why is it such a problem to speak the truth?
It became a problem for us because of the propaganda machine.
I don't know what's going on.
But it's more of
here.
a problem.
Wait,
for
what did I
them.
say? I couldn't
They've
see
taken
it.
our
It's a song.
birthright.
They don't
ca-
want us to be them.
What did the
They
song
don't
say?
want us to be us.
Can we want?
They
don't want you rapping
That's
your
probably
head.
black
Right, right.
Israelites.
You understand?
Even though we
making
the
this.
true Hebrews.
Because I know they like to switch. But in the
Yeah, they
land
got
of
some-
captivity,
Is that
they shall remember themselves.
This is like the first little clip I could find of this, which
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
is going to come from certain sources.
Right,
so.
right.
Baruch.
What's that? That Deuteronomy.
Exactly. So we
No.
can't even tell
Deuteronomy
the truth
23.
now. Not on record, not on television shows.
If that's truly our birthright, there's no hate involved.
Yeah, so this isn't good, but that's fine because that touches on kind of what got him in trouble. So he went down that road, and then went down the road of like how the Caucasian Jews are the ones that set up the world banking system and are the ones that are really controlling the world, the Rothschilds and all that whole thing, which is considered an anti-Semitic way of thinking, something that Hitler
And they've
did.
made it that way. They've
Right.
said that.
Right.
Right.
And this is something that Hitler put out there to
justify why
what he
he-
did.
correct.
Right. So this has become
it's a trigger.
right, the trigger for
Right.
anti-Semitism
Right.
in the
Three
modern
groups
day.
have picked that up: the 5%ers, the Hebrew Israelites, and the Black American Muslims have
Right.
picked up that sentiment. You hear it a lot, especially if you pass by a group of Hebrew Israelites.
Oh, yeah.
they'll tell you that flat out.
Well, they got to tell
They
you
can't
that.
wait for white people to walk by. They call them the devil.
Right. But that's what I wanted to talk about is the rise of this ideology in young blacks and especially in the celebrity culture because Deshaun Jackson just got in trouble for
Yeah.
spouting the same type of stuff.
And then Steven,
Ice Cube.
the basketball guy who George Floyd is his friend, Steven
Jackson.
George Floyd is his friend?
Yeah,
I
that was
didn't
like
know
one of
that.
his best friends.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
wow.
grew up in Texas together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Steven Jackson, you just Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg.
A few have
So
said.
just like a note, like as I'm looking for that actual footage, there's like clips on YouTube, but the first comments for all of these little clips on YouTube are people being like, this has been edited, all the racist parts were taken out, where he talks about the Rothschilds and this and that, it's all been taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
So there is like a full interview.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
an
watched a full
hour and
interview.
something. I
Right.
don't know
He took
what's
that down.
in there
He
or
took
what
that.
the deal is.
So that might still exist, but yeah, we're not gonna go through all that. But
Right, but it's just interesting. Like,
Right.
why is it so hard to find things? This is the internet.
because exactly,
And-
but you know why?
I think even on the other,
Right.
even on the other end, like for something to be triggering to you, like anything, like on the Jewish end, like I get it, but at the same time, like, oh, we got to put a stop to this. Like, there's that can
because
become a problem too.
This is but this is the thing for them, and I forget who I was watching, but they explained it this way. It might have been Schultz too, that they were talking about how like from the time that they're kids,
Correct.
they are taught
Once a year to read this book.
that this could happen again.
Right. And
Yeah.
to never
And
forget,
these are the things that we need to watch out for. And if we see them, we need to put a stop to them, or else 6 more million of us will be killed at any point.
right, which
You know
I
what mean?
get, but what I'm saying is that that's still reactionary,
Right.
and it's still fear,
Right.
and it's still gonna it can
No, I
lead to
get
other
it.
things.
But I want to get to
Go ahead.
like where do y'all think this rise in this ideology is coming from, especially in celebrity culture? I think like some people were talking about Kendrick Lamar. I know we saw a clip of them talking to Tiffany Haddish and Common, and like they were kind of agreeing with the Black Israelites with a lot of this stuff that they were talking about. Tiffany Haddish definitely, she found out that her father is from Israel, so
Yeah, she's more. I don't really Black Israelite, more Jewish,
More like-
Black Jew type.
And there are
of-
Black Jews.
Yeah,
to be
absolutely,
clear.
absolutely.
Because her
Judaism is
grandfather
not
was.
Caucasian. It's a religion.
yeah,
But,
yeah. It's a
But yeah, Fantasia. She's definitely a Black
Fantasia's
Israelite.
another one.
She's like part of the GCC
Right,
or
right.
something like that. But
But this is something that I'm starting to see more and more come out.
It's
Especially
been
like,
there though.
yeah,
Yeah, but I'm starting to see more
More
people
vocalization of it?
vocalizing it,
I-
and like I don't know, Deshaun Jackson. They're saying that he quoted Hitler, but
Yeah.
I heard that those
he thought it
quotes
was
weren't.
Hitler. It wasn't Hitler.
But he posted them
But he
like
thought it was Hitler.
Hitler
Yeah.
said this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
Well, I think I mean my simple take on it, and I could be wrong about this. Is just conjecture right now. It's more or less this. I think most of these people are in the entertainment world, whether it's sports, singing, acting, whatever it is, and they're seeing who their agents are. They're seeing who the studio heads are. They're seeing who the financiers are.
And it is an anomaly that like such a small percentage of the population runs all of these industries.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So they're seeing that, and they're seeing that these people are there's a group who's talented, and these people are the people who are the fanners of the talent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or at least the container for the talent, the vase, if you will. So when they look around and they see certain things, it's not hard for someone to be like, yeah, you might be a star, but you don't own none of this.
Isn't that what Kanye was saying?
Right.
At his rally? Did y'all watch the rally?
So now, I mean, some people it may just whatever, man.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's like, yeah, you're right. I don't own my rights. I don't own my record
Masters.
I don't
my
own this. I don't own
publishing,
this.
Yeah.
And I don't have the generational wealth that I see this family who's
My manager has. Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily coming out of a place of hate. Now it is hate, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's pure hate. I think what's happening is these people are looking at the wealth that they've created off of their talent
and the industry they're in.
and the industry they're in, and they're seeing the people who give them the platform
Right.
have a legacy,
Right.
a long legacy. These studio heads are not just this guy; it's his father, his grandfather, and on and on. And you're just one guy,
Right.
and you can't pass this on to your kids. And I think it's really out of confusion of how do I control my legacy through wealth, and out of that frustration comes in, you're kings, you're queens,
Right.
you're lords, and they're like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
and they panic and.
I love that whole statement, like we were kings and queens, like
Right.
all of you.
Right, exactly.
But I think it's coming out of frustration.
That's not how that
for,
works.
Somebody was feeding them grapes.
Right. It's coming out of frustration where they don't understand where their wealth is going and because here's the thing, a lot of black people are starting to say we're giving our money away. We're spending our money on stupid stuff. There was recently a video of Gucci Man walking through the mall in Atlanta when the doors opened, and Gucci opened the actual store, His name is Gucci.
He's Gucci
ironically.
Man. He's the one peddling that ideology.
They don't understand irony.
Irony
But
is-
basically, he was walking through and he said, "Y'all are all stupid. Y'all giving y'all money away." But this was
They should have been like, but you
Exactly.
told
you
us.
named after
You told us to.
Right. So I think it's being birthed out of who controls our legacy financially,
Right.
You know what I mean? And because I remember reading a thing, actually not reading, I listened to Chuck Berry say, "Hey, listen, I toured almost 7 days a week. I played any club, I would do it." He said, "What I got out of it was steaks, a Cadillac, and a few white women." Until I went to my manager's house, and he's living in a $2 million house.
Right.
And at that time, $2 million would have been what, like $30 million?
Yeah.
And he's like, "What?" And ever since then, he converted to, "I need my money. I need cash."
Right.
Brown paper bag. You guys remember that?
Yep.
So he said that was birthed out of seeing someone who gave me the platform, his life be way better than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's happening with these celebrities today.
But they figure it out too late. Like,
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree. I'm just saying. I think that I'm just trying to answer
I got
how
you.
it's birthed. You know
Like,
what I mean?
how does this ideology spread amongst celebrities?
I think it's because they're looking
because
at
they're
their
looking
finances.
at it and looking at the people around them making all the money.
Yeah.
They're looking at who are the heads of all these studios, who are the heads of.
Well, I think it has to do with like where you come from, because a Jaden Smith ain't coming up with this ideology. You know what I mean? Like, because he's the next generation.
He's talking about entanglement. He's like, wait a minute.
and he has
No, you just cheated.
that really won't happen to them. It'll happen to like the person who really brings the talent. You know what I mean?
Well, the person, I'm saying it's going to happen to the people. It's going to happen to anybody. I feel that. That's why you have the 5%ers that come out of the urban situations. It's urban. It's urbanomics, I guess you could say, in a way. Because people see the oppression. What?
No, I was just looking to see if there was any comment.
People see the oppression, and then you can do one of two things. You can humble yourself and really want to open yourself up to why, or you can take it and make your own conclusions. And that's what blinds people in pride. And that's what happens, I think, with like a Nick Cannon. Like he's looking around for answers to feed his own desires.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's different. Like you're gonna. So now you take something that hasn't really been researched, like Hebrew Israelites,
Right.
and they quote a bunch of scriptures that don't mean what they're saying, but they find solace in it because it gives them some sense of identity that they don't have.
Right.
And that brings a false pride, and it builds them up in a false way, you know. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that they're being, even though you got money, you still have, like, how many times do you hear black people saying we need community? You know, look at the Jews. They look out for each other, but there's no honor, there's no pride, right? So then they pride themselves in the ways they can find it to lift themselves up. You know what I mean? And it's because it's easier to do that than to humble yourself.
Right.
Humbling yourself, that's a hard thing. You got to take a look and, okay, well, because we're going to look at this Bible. What does it really mean? Or am I going to make it mean what I think it should mean so I can feel good about myself? That's what religion does. You know, it builds, you read something and you make it work for yourself.
Right.
But you're destroying what it's saying.
Yeah.
I think that's where that ideology comes from, though, where black people look around and say, this community's doing this community's doing this community's doing this. And we've been talking about, you know, your Oprahs, your Bill Cosbys, your people with these Tyler Perrys with this stature that can kind of bring people together and make our own, and we don't.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, how else can we unite? We're all kings, we're all queens,
Right,
and so
right.
that starts
Yeah.
spreading to try.
We're actually the original Jews, and
Exactly, you know what I mean?
it gives you
And-
an identity.
right. And so and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but if you try and unite that way, then maybe it'll be a different change. Now, I don't know who started it. I don't know where the trend is going with it, but I see it as that. Everyone trying to relate so that we can unite as a people to build community and help and support each other.
They recognize there's a need for it.
Right.
Because they're not saying that about the Asian community or the Indian community. They're saying that because Jews and blacks have a unique relationships with the entertainment.
Right.
And by the way, these are all celebrities that are saying this. This is not this is not Bob Johnson or business people. This is just celebrities who basically their
there's
managers.
a lot of people that agree with
I know they
what
do.
he's saying, because if you went through the comments, everybody was like, yo, he ain't saying nothing wrong. Like he's speaking facts. And then when he apologized, he put out them cryptic tweets because people were mad that he apologized.
Right.
They were like, well, now you a sellout. You know what I mean?
And even when like Jackson apologized, it's like,
cryptic,
okay, but like, then he says like, I'm sorry the people took it in the wrong way. I'm just trying to uplift my people.
Right.
But it's like, but you're uplifting them in the wrong way.
Right.
You know, how are you trying to uplift them? Well, this is what I believe. So then it'll just, really, he's not apologizing because he's just going to bring it back to what it really is.
Well, they're worried about their money too.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm apologizing because it's going to hurt my pocket.
Right.
I still believe this.
Because then he liked the tweet that said, I can't wait for the day when black men have to stop apologizing for what they say and how they feel.
Right.
So you can't apologize and then someone
Take it
supports
back.
you and then you kind of like that tweet.
Right.
In that situation, you got to leave that alone,
Or-
even if you feel that way.
Or let's talk about it.
Right.
Exactly.
Let's talk about it so we can get down to it. What are you afraid? Like, let's talk about it
Right.
and really have a conversation. You know, is he doing that? I don't know. He might be, but a lot of people they don't do that.
That's the Viacom thing, though.
Yeah.
What do you think? What's your take?
My take on it is that I think a lot of these people are based out of the hurts and the racism that they've seen in their life. They're attaching themselves to an ideology that makes them feel uplifted, just like the nation did when Malcolm was out there preaching. He was preaching to hurt black people that were in the cities watching their brothers and sisters get beat over the head by police officers. And one of the main things he was saying is they want to tell you to be peaceful while they're beating you over the head. They want to tell you to believe in what that white Jesus says while they don't believe in it because they're acting. They want to tell you to turn the other cheek while they're beating you over the head. You know what I mean? So they used that hurt that people were rightfully feeling because of things that were really happening, that were wrongs done, and they gave them an answer
That they wanted to hear.
that they wanted to hear.
And all these people who are quoting all these things aren't necessarily these things.
Right.
Like Nick Cannon isn't a black Israelite.
Right.
They're taking what they want so they can feed
Feel
what
good.
they need. Like this is I'm gonna take some of this, I'm gonna take some of that. Oh, we gods. That's 5%ers. Take some of that over here. They're taking whatever they can. I'm gonna quote Farrakhan, Nation of Islam. They're taking whatever they want.
That just reminds me of the Will Smith and Jada thing. I just wanted to feel good. It's been so long since I felt good.
That's Halle Berry on Monsters Ball, right?
Man.
So they're literally like, think about that. We're trying to feed ourselves but never satisfy.
Kyle knows that scene very well. Look, that's when he lit up when I said that.
Oh, you know that scene?
That's the only scene for that movie that I know.
Thus begin his quest.
So yeah, we're trying to feed ourselves, but we're never going to be satisfied because it's we're just building, like they're building an ideology to make themselves feel secure in their own house, in their own selves, right? But what happens when that all falls down? Where do you go? You know, and so don't build your house on something that's going to eventually fall down.
And not to change the subject, but I think this is a good transition because I think that's what you're seeing now with Kanye West. And like, I don't know if you guys, whoever watched his rally that he did, I watched the whole thing.
I watched some of it.
First of all, like, why no microphones?
Yeah.
What was the point
I
of
didn't
that?
see any of it.
He did a whole rally with no microphones. Like he wanted to take it back to ancient times where they just yell over the crowd. But it was like you could barely hear half of what he was saying. But you're seeing someone, and the mental illness thing has kind of overshadowed a lot of what he's talking about. And I watched how the media and a lot of these these journalists on Twitter, they keep highlighting that Harriet Tubman statement that he made, because he said something like Harriet Tubman didn't really free the slaves.
Just brought her to other white people.
He said, yeah. But what he was talking about was kind of the same thing we're talking about. He went on to talk about how, like, you don't know who are on the boards of Nike or Adidas or these like, he was talking about his Adidas deal. He was talking about himself, how he only gets 15% from the Yeezys. You know what I'm saying? Adidas gets 85% of that sneaker. You know what I mean? And he was talking about how, like, you don't know who's on the board of Adidas. You see my face and you think it's me. These are mine, but you don't really know who's calling the shots. And a lot of these people that are in these positions of power aren't really the ones calling the shots. They're not really. He was trying to draw light to that by saying what he said about Harriet Tubman. But of course, everyone just turns that into the talking point. Oh, Kanye's crazy. Look at him.
And he's a hard pill to swallow, man.
Because he shouldn't be. Like, what are we doing? Why are we even care? Like,
right.
Why are we really pretending like this dude is running for president?
Right.
Like,
you either get Nick Cannon or Kanye. Jeez.
But some of the stuff that he's saying needs to be said.
Right.
Like, he's going in talking about abortion, talking about the fact that his father wanted to abort him, the fact that he wanted to abort his first daughter. You know what I mean? He goes into.
He has another daughter?
Doesn't he have?
Yeah. He has like 4 kids.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought he was at 3.
3 or 4.
He
I
might
don't
have.
know. Don't get me to lying about some Kardashian
Rachel's on
shit.
it. Rachel's on it.
But
Northwest.
I don't know, but I know he was talking about his daughter.
Okay.
Northwest Sky.
And I'm assuming it was his first daughter because he goes through the whole thing about, like, he was going to abort her. And then he has this whole breakdown where he's crying. You know what I mean? So they make those the headlines because it paints him this picture of this mentally unstable guy, which, you know, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But, you know, it doesn't take away from the fact that
there's
some of the stuff that he's saying needs to be said.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think a lot more people are saying it though. I'm hearing. I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm seeing more and more people are challenging those social norms in not just the black community, but in white society and other societies. I feel like there's a new time coming where I think people are starting to question those things. At least from what are we getting out of these systems that's been built.
Right.
You know, people may not be wanting to focus on the racial aspect, but at least in terms of society, where did this lead us? And I'm seeing white guys talk about that, white girls. I'm seeing other groups talk about it, and at least be willing to have that conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, because none of that stuff was taught in school. Like, if you didn't look up redlining or Jim Crow
you wouldn't
laws,
know.
Like,
you wouldn't know.
I didn't go to any school that taught me any of that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We got taught Jim Crow.
Right.
We got taught.
It was very,
but it was like in a veiled way.
Right.
Like
It's
very,
slavery. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King, the end.
They taught you Jim Crow, and like this is when desegregation happened. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that's the end of it.
Right. That's what they taught you.
Yeah,
they didn't say
they
like
didn't show you how it came into being.
Right, but also how that affected generational wealth.
Right. How it affected, exactly.
You know,
Right.
stopped black people from, you know, getting
and
a
home
home
ownership.
and leave. Well, that's what I'm saying. Stop black. How do you build generational wealth? So if your grandparents had a home and then they left it to you,
right?
You know, you already have a leg up. You know, and then you leave that to someone else. Equity in the home, whatever. You take that and you have, you know, some capital to build, you know, a life on.
Right.
If you don't grant that same thing to people for whatever reason, you know, and the GI Bill was supposed to do that for everyone who came back from the war, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like
then
2%.
you have a head start.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
right. And you can't have that conversation if you don't want to acknowledge any of those points. You know, that's just what it is. You know?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't, like we were talking about before, like we talk about it all the time, that there's these two teams emerging.
Right.
And it's like either you agree completely with this team or you're the devil, or you agree completely with this team or you're the devil.
Right.
And it's like there is
listen, when we landed in the United States, we were told Democrats are for
blacks.
us.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
You know?
it was actually the other way around back then, but
No, I know, but when we
No, he's talking about when he landed
came.
here.
Oh, when you got here.
Trinidad.
Yeah.
Trinidad,
My
yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned that too.
Yeah, I love how they
You
try
know?
to flip it though. They always say, like Republicans say now, well, Republicans were the ones who actually tried to free the slaves. It was the Democrats. But you flip the ideologies of the parties.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not.
I don't
the
think
same.
they necessarily flipped. I think the conservatives just kind of got lazy.
Yeah.
Like they were like, well, we're gonna do what we do. Like, I mean, when you think of conservatism, that's literally that can happen.
Right.
You become lazy. You know what I mean? And I think that's what happens. Like that's what really it becomes stale
Right.
and old. They
Yeah.
stick to what they know.
Things are supposed to progress.
Yeah.
But then you can turn that into progressivism, which is like you
Yeah.
got to keep pushing into these.
Well, their idea of what progressivism
Right,
is.
right.
Like that's the thing that messes up progressivism because it's the idea of whoever is in control.
Right.
That's why you see the new wave of the progressives that are coming up now, like the AOCs. And,
Right.
that's a whole nother thing.
Ilhan Omar's.
Yeah.
All right. That was a good talk. Let's get to Kyle. Let's talk about like what you want to see happen with what you're doing, your streams, and like where you want to take it. Talk about it.
Just trying to see some positivity overall. Like I said, the biggest thing is just an outlet and a platform for conversation. Like this, just conversation, and whether it be current affairs, community relations, human relations, local politics, things like that. Just having conversations about it because, as we see, a lot of people don't know some of these topics that we're talking about. People don't know what's going on in the world. People don't know how these things affect our everyday lives. So, if the people in Portland or Chaz, they succeed, who's to say who's going to follow suit and try and do the same thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to stay abreast of that stuff and be at least informed of it. You don't have to be an expert on it. You don't have to have an opinion and all kinds of facts to back it up, but you have to be willing to open your mind and talk about it. And so, like I said, I just think, whether you're Democratic, you're Republican, you're gay, straight, black, white, everyone has something to bring to the table. And when you try and stick to your own or stay in your own box, you don't grow. You don't become the country can't heal without everyone sharing ideas. So I heard somewhere where someone was saying, why don't we stop letting politicians say, here's my platform, here's what I'm running, and this is what I can do for you. Why don't we as a people, you got 3 ideas, you have 3 ideas, you have 3 ideas, you have 3 ideas, I have 3 ideas. We write them down, hand them to the politicians and say, you need to deliver these 12 things for us.
Right. Or we don't vote for you.
Or we don't vote for you, whether you're Republican or Democrat. We just don't vote for you. If you can't,
That
if you
sounds
can't,
like what's his name? Killer Mike.
Killer Mike?
Yeah.
Killer Mike, he said that also. Yeah, I watched something on that where he was saying the same thing. But yeah, exactly. When we start letting politicians dictate what they're going to do for us, that's when you just fall into that comfort zone. And so,
And you say, well, at least that guy's doing this, so I'll vote for him. Yeah.
Right. It's like,
yeah. Then they don't do any of it anyway.
Yeah,
Right,
they
exactly.
make promises.
I couldn't get to that one.
but the thing is, it's people vote for what's best for them personally. So like Jake was saying, it's more selfish. People vote selfishly instead of saying, okay, what's good for my community? What's good for my state? What's good for my country? And so if it's not one party or the other and it's an independent, or you're a registered Republican but the Democrat is going to help more people, then you got to vote the platform,
Right.
not the person, not
Right.
the party.
Not the party.
And that's why people put up these walls like we've been talking about, where they entrench themselves in these ideas and what they think they stand for, and then they never want to hear the other side.
Right.
And then as you try and have a dialogue with them, they just keep beating you over the head with, well, I'm right. I'm right. Listen to me. And so that's what I'm trying to, with my platform, that's what I'm trying to do. Just break down some of them walls. Because when I went to college in Virginia, I mean, you'd be surprised how many people, and this is 88, I was the first black person they've ever seen in person.
Wow.
And
West Virginia?
No, it was regular.
Regular Virginia?
Regular Virginia.
That was like
Regular
in the
Virginia?
hills, huh?
No, I went to college in Bristol, Virginia, which is where the Bristol Motor Speedway is.
Oh, okay.
So it's literally 2 blocks down from my college. There was a yellow line in the middle of the street, and it was Bristol, Virginia, Bristol, Tennessee, and it was called Twin Cities. So
on that border. Okay.
yeah, it was on that border. So I was about an hour and a half from Kentucky. Just it was pretty
country.
yeah. So I've experienced my share of racism even on campus. So I mean, it was a real small school. It was about 600 students. There was about 15 of us that were black, and but I met so many people there that weren't afraid to just ask questions.
Yeah.
Even though they had never really interacted with a black person, they would ask questions, and that was just encouraging.
But that can also be spun on its head too, where it's like asking questions is now racist because the fact that you don't know about my culture means that you are a racist person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if
you
you
didn't
take
care
it
to
that
know.
way.
Right. But that's where I feel like we're being pushed into that mindset. You know. What I mean?
Yeah,
But
if you take it that way,
Yeah.
and he didn't take it that way.
And that's the difference, and that's where we need to be. We need to we need to want to understand each other and understand that we don't always understand each other. Like I didn't know a lot about Cambodian culture or Asian culture until he became my friend.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then I got immersed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was a lot of questions and a lot of things that but
Yeah.
you can't take that as like a racist thing or
Just
like
didn't know.
same thing with my wife's culture and my brother-in-law's culture. Like, I'm just the type of person where I want to know, so I'm
Right.
asking questions. But it's this weird thing, and in this country, it's with black and white. It's like when a white person asks, it's like it's automatically taken as some type of offensive
Right.
thing. Where it's like, why can't it just be that I want to know? Like, I honestly am curious. You know what I mean?
I saw a thing with I forget the guy's name, but we read an article on here one time. The guy who was like meeting with KKK members.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Oh,
that guy.
Daryl.
Daryl
Yes,
Davis, yeah.
Right. So he met with this one guy and got his address and his number, and he was like the head of like this one group of KKK.
It was called Dragon or something like that, right?
Yeah.
The,
You saw that?
Always
Yeah.
got them wizard
And-
names, man.
yeah.
I saw it.
And they were like, don't go to his house. He'll shoot you. He'll kill you. Right? And he like set up an interview with this guy, interviewed him, and they were like talking about how they were both on edge because they didn't know. He thought he might have been set up.
Yeah.
And, but after that, they met again, and then they kept meeting. Eventually, he starts inviting them to his house, vice versa, and they became friends.
And that relationship is what dismantled all of that ideology that was
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
He has an
It was
interesting
nothing
story.
about Daryl Davis. Like, if people don't know who that is, look into that.
And this wasn't just a guy in the KKK. This was like one of the main dudes.
Oh, he was a Grand Wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was in Baltimore too. This was
Yeah.
in Baltimore.
Yeah.
He actually I just finished watching a story about him. He actually caused 250 men to walk away
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the KKK.
Yep. Yep. And they
Now
used
that's
to-
not
they
for
used to-
everybody, so we understand
Right,
that. But this
right.
guy
Yeah.
has will.
Yeah,
and
he
they,
said
they used
that.
to give him their robes.
Yes.
They used
He
to
has
give
it.
him their
Yep.
their hoods and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
So he changed their minds. Like all they knew was
But
what,
not out of arguing. Not
Yeah.
out of like
It was actually because of music. He used to play Dixie,
Right.
And he, one of the guys, he would come to the show to listen to him play.
Yeah, that was the guy. I was
And he said, "Listen," he said, "I ain't never heard a black," well, he said, "and
Yeah.
play like that." And he said, "I didn't react to it." And then he said, "Well, actually," he said, "A white guy plays like I can't remember the name of the white player or whatever." And he said, "No," he said, "I'll tell you who taught me this, where this comes from." And then he had to educate him of where this came from. That the thing he liked all along
Right.
was created by
By
a
a
black
black guy,
he was
yeah.
like, "Nah, I
Right.
can't believe it."
Right.
And he was like, "I'm gonna prove it to you." And he brought the record. and
blacks don't know math.
so he, but I think over time the relationship, and he said he would bring him over to the table, and there was some of them that would scatter, but for some reason he was extra curious, and he was curious as well.
Right.
This is the KKK member, and he said I was curious as well as he, and That's how the relationship began.
Right.
And it's about being, honest, genuine, and not putting up a wall.
Right.
And that's how barriers get destroyed. And that's just like, I was watching it, man, I was crying just because like the love that is unconditional, it's unmerited. You know what I mean? It's not something that like when you look at this KKK member, like he doesn't deserve it, but you give it, and you can see how if he receives it, now he changes his whole
Right.
and he becomes he was an enemy, now he's a friend.
And not only that, it also deals with you too, and your want to lash out because of offense to someone.
Not just that, it deals with your fear, because he was afraid, like, of this guy. Like he didn't know what he was gonna do.
Right.
And he, like, even him meeting with this guy, like, he faced his fears, and dealt with that because his passion to understand where they're coming from was greater. And he felt like there could be a dialogue because he had already been in this, right? But he felt like that his passion to reach somebody was greater than his fear.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of happened in a small microscopic way in terms of society. I feel like most of the people that would have said, don't talk to them, don't go down there, don't hang out with them, don't do this, in either racial culture, whatever it is, with Indians, blacks, whites, whatever it is, I think that the last few years, most of these kids have grown up with each other. They've shared sports, they've shared food, so a lot of that kind of rhetoric, it's gone. It's gone. Because I remember I was talking to an electrician friend of mine, and we were talking, and he said, my grandmother used to say to me, when you're done playing with him, wash your hands. Right? And I was like, really? But I didn't react. Like, my attitude was like, wow, like, where did she got that from her family and on and on. But it stopped with him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He made a conscious choice. He was
Right.
like, he's like, that's my nana. She was crazy. He's like,
Right.
I would just tell my black friends, don't even come over here.
Right.
I would make up excuses. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, because I didn't want them to know what you know what I mean?
Right.
You know.
But again, like you said, that ideology stops with him.
Yep, he stopped it, and because his friends were.
He was smart enough to see
Right.
that this was
It didn't
ridiculous.
make sense.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to him.
Right.
You know, and on and on. And we have to do the same thing.
Right.
You know, we can't believe that every white person is racist and wants to, kill us. You know, we have to do the same thing too.
Right.
Can't blame the man for everything.
And again, that's back to like you want to be able to tell people about a different way of thinking about things. This is why you're getting into
Right.
streaming. This is why we did it, because we feel like there's
Right.
something to be said about like all of these different cultures coming together and the way we think and like bouncing ideas off of each other and seeing where we go wrong, where we can change.
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. And and a lot of people might think because we do bash on like a lot of Democrats and a lot of things, but it's only because there's such a spell over people in our community that like we just do
Including
it because,
us.
Right. It was
blindly
yeah,
vote Democrat.
Right. And it's like
No matter what.
it's like we do it just because we watch, and also the spell of like believing that media is not lying to you. Media is telling you the truth, and you're getting all the truth from them. Like we're trying to break all those things from people's mindsets.
right.
And that's why we talk about this. So that's why we wanted to have you on. That's why we wanted to give you the platform to talk about what you're doing too, so that people can watch your stuff. Let everybody know when you're gonna be putting up videos, where they can find it, and all that good stuff.
All right. Unfortunately, I don't have a set schedule, so my videos are going to come on my days off. So try and give people forewarning. My schedule basically goes like this. I'm off a weekend, Sunday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday. So that's my 4-week rotation at work. So on one of my days off, I usually take the day off to prepare, and then the second day I actually
So just
do
follow
it.
you to get the
So,
notifications
exactly.
so they
So-
know when it's going to happen. Are you going to set up a page for Why Not Media or
I just did that today.
you just did that today? There you
working
go.
on it.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you
All those steps are what's important. I'm telling you, man. Just start doing it, man.
Yep.
Like that's the thing about the world we live in right now. Just start doing it. And I heard you say that in your first video, that it was like, and we said that when we started this. It was like, if we don't just do it, we're never
Exactly.
going to do it.
Yep.
You know.
So you're telling me I should do it?
But yeah, we appreciate you coming on, man. I know
Appreciate you
it's
guys
been a
having me.
long time coming. You are a watcher of our podcast. We appreciate you for letting people know about it. Hopefully, we'll have you on again soon, and we can come on something that you're doing at the
Yes,
same
sir.
time at
That's
any
the plan.
time. Everybody, make sure they go follow. What's the name? Why Not Media is the page.
It's Why Not Media Group _1970 because Why Not Media and Why Not Media Group was already taken.
So Why Not Media
Score 1970.
Why Not Media Group _1970.
That is correct.
Go like his page on Instagram right now. I mean Facebook, right?
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And Twitter. Make a YouTube too, man. I'm telling you.
Working on
Make
that
a
too.
YouTube. Also, before we get out of here, I got to give a shout out to Mr. Build Right over here, Mr. James Garcia. He's been doing a lot of work. But yo, hit him up if you need some work done.
He's a busy man.
He's a busy man, but Jake is like, I'm trying to get my.
I'm waiting. I'm on my waiting over here.
My coffee bar
Waiting over here.
Yo, that was Jake. That was funny. Jake was like, he's a busy man. Waiting on my coffee bar.
Been spending money at Starbucks right here.
Also, Kyle Mack has the Tri Jam podcast coming back on Tuesday, right? You're going to be, so we're losing you for the foreseeable future.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah, can I talk real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not trying to compete with you guys. I'm sure we have very different audiences. But yeah, Tri Jam podcast comes back next week. We are going to be, the Connecticut School of Broadcasting is shut down for this foreseeable future. I'm sorry, I had a little bit too much Jack Daniels there in the corner. I can't come here without drinking. I don't know. But yeah, so CSB is shut down for, until schools open back up. I don't know why I have this. And then, so we're going to be broadcasting live from...
Scott is all over the place.
We'll be broadcasting live from Mi Casa.
Okay.
And everyone's going to be back on the show. So Will Wright, Shay Davis, Joe Rivers, and yeah.
So you got everybody back?
Everybody back?
For now.
Okay.
And so
thought you were changing.
We haven't really talked about that publicly yet.
Oh, my bad.
So everything will be intact for like the next couple.
We'll
of
take
weeks.
care of that in post.
But it's out there live right now.
Yes.
So.
So follow us on Instagram at TriJam Podcast, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and you can download the audio podcast anywhere.
All right,
So,
that's
yeah.
enough.
All right.
You did a longer promo than anything we didn't
And
say.
he wanted to get in camera.
Jeez.
Let me get in here real quick.
Thanks again to John for doing this thing on the cameras today. Rachel doing the production tip and looking up the stuff. Yo, she's so much better than you, bro.
I know.
So much
I
better.
I know, she was so quick.
I did it one time.
I did it for 5 minutes.
Stop getting on him.
I know. I gotta mess with him. But we appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Listen, go to the YouTube. We're trying to push everybody to YouTube. Subscribe on the YouTube, youngliontv. Facebook is kind of suppressing us a little bit, so Zuckerberg, it doesn't like these conversations. So go on to YouTube, subscribe over there, and we're going to be posting up the podcast also pretty soon, audio only on all the platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, all that good stuff. But Patreon, patreon.com/youngliontv. You can become a member on there. You can donate to the podcast and help us keep making it better and better for you. And you can go to Jatan.com and get merch and music. And that's it. We'll see you guys next week.
Merch.
And we're out of here.
Peace.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This